Hi, I'm Sam Soto, and this is A Second Reality. I've been fortunate to be in some amazing... Hi, I'm Sam Soto, and this is A Second Reality. I've been fortunate to be in some amazing projects in my day.
Can you guarantee that? Can you guarantee it? Get it done.
Estamos buscando trabajo. No hay dinero en México.
Same story.
For me? For you, Hector.
None of them will ever compare to the ones I was able to make, with a lot of help from my friends. I made a movie about expression. I made a movie about fear. I made an unexpected love story. And I made the funniest, most chaotic TV show I can think of.
Hey, let's get roommates who ruin furniture!
Oh my god!
They were escapes. And now I'm here, sharing my reality with you. Welcome to A Second Reality.
What up, everybody? I don't know who's here, but what up? Welcome to my first ever live video stream I've ever done for A Second Reality. So thank you for coming. Here's one of my homies, Naathan Phan. What up, Nathan?
Hey, everybody.
So let me know if you guys have issues with audio, since we, again, first time we've ever done this. Oh, let's see who. I'm gonna see who's in the chat really quick. Joe Beth.
Not advised.
Joe Beth. Jenna, my bestie Jenny. It's time. Kenzo backflips. Sammy, thanks for coming. Hello Kitty. What up, Hello Kitty? You expect magic? No magic is guaranteed today. It's all about magic. It's all about
Only
magic.
the magic of friendship.
Magic.
Aw.
So yeah, Shakira, Mini Maddie, and what up, Kiara? How you guys doing? We're here. I'm gonna be completely honest. There is nothing planned. Like our friendship, there's nothing planned. We just kind of do shit and just fuck around. So this is adult.
Yeah.
There will probably be some magic because this guy just can't help himself. We'll see. But yeah, this is kind of an off the cuff. If you guys have questions, if you guys want stories about anything specific, please ask. Nathan has been in a lot of shit. Super bad, kinda.
Oh, that kind of shit.
That kind of shit.
I thought you were talking about the time I fell into an outhouse. Yes, but also...
That's a story that I don't know that I want to know.
No, it's a pun.
Okay, because
Yeah,
it's...
pun. That's never actually happened.
All right, cool.
I've been in a few things. It's America's Got Talent, Masters of Illusion, Penn and Teller Fool Us, Super Bad. Randomly, I was on. There's the exciting time that I got texts saying you're on Tosh.0 right now. I'm like, no, I'm not. I would know. Oh shit, I am. I did like one day of background work, featured background work on Reno 911. That was exciting.
Like when the show was around, not like they're bringing it back, right?
Yeah, no, on the original show, like way back in the day. This was way back in the day. And then other things, and then of course the unaired pilot for Up in Smoke.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Herb
me.
Sam Soto, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we can have a whole conversation about Up in Smoke, which we
That
should,
is-
because we can talk
we
about
should.
anything. But the short version is I made a pilot, I threw all my eggs in a basket, and I made a show, and I think it's funny. It's not perfect, but it's not. But we can have that conversation today. We can talk about
Yeah.
anything we want. So let's do that.
If anybody wants to hear about it, it was basically like the way I always described it was like it was Big Bang Theory with magicians.
Yeah.
Kind of is what it was. It was essentially magicians who all happen to know each other, wind up living in the same house because they're all like childhood friends. It was fun, and I basically just played me. It was.
That's why I cast you. I'm like, I need a stage magician who's big but can also kind of like slow it down. So it was like perfect.
Yeah.
Let me see what's happening.
Good times.
FK,
Everything
hi.
happened.
FK, welcome. Kenzo wants at least one monologue as Christopher Walken. We can get to that too.
Sure. Name one. Give me some Shakespeare. One of my new favorite things to do is every once in a while on Facebook, I'll just be like, someone give me an accent or celebrity and then any Shakespearean soliloquy or monologue. And then I will then have to like somebody who's like, I want to hear King Lear in a Jamaican accent. I'm like, oh boy, okay, let's try this. But yeah, one of my favorite things to do is just take any Shakespearean monologue and just do it as Christopher Walken, because it just makes everything better.
And he will do it. So if you actually ask for it,
yeah.
don't.
If you ask
don't,
for it, yeah.
Mini Maddie says Sonnet 18.
I can look it up right now. Hold on.
Well, when
Sonnet...
we do that, should we show you reel?
Oh yeah, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, which is basically everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, show them. This is my demo reel, just so you can see like the things I've been on.
So here you go, guys. I'm gonna show it. I showed pieces of it yesterday, over and over again, and people loved it. Now let's see the whole thing. All right. I don't know if I'm supposed to show this, but all right. So here you go, guys. Where's your button? There's your button. Here we go, guys.
Folded in quarters inside my mouth to 4 apart.
Not only land inside the hat. Tremendous Timothy turned invisible. Everybody, hold it up, eyes where we see. Look at that.
So we'll get ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. Been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor. And buried in your bones there's an ache that you can't ignore. Taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind. Don't fight it, it's coming for you, running at ya. It's only this moment, don't care what comes after. Your fever dream, can't you see it getting closer? Just surrender cause you feel the feeling taking over. It's fire, it's freedom, it's flooding open. It's a preacher in the pulpit and you'll find devotion. There's something breaking at the brick of every wall, it's holding all that you know. So tell me, do you wanna go where it's coming all the time? This is the greatest show.
Naathan Phan, ladies and gentlemen.
So, for all the people who don't know, that's it. That is a reel. That's his reel.
Yeah, that's my demo reel. So that's one of two that I have. So this one features my singing, and then my my cruise ship agent told me, hey, you should also have one that has no singing and has more comedy from you. So that way people know that you do comedy as well. So I have one that has a little bit of magic, but it's also like set up against me doing impressions and stand-up comedy. So yeah, because that's useful from time to time. All right, somebody requested Sonnet 18 as Christopher Walken, I assume.
Yeah, that was
so I'm gonna do. And Sonnet 18 is like one of the more popular ones. It's the "Shall I Compare Thee to?" Some will say. Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Walken reciting Sonnet 18.
You guys did this to yourself.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Some time too hot. The eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometimes declines by chance or nature's changing course, untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou oust. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. There you are. There's Sonnet 18 is walking, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, yeah, Mini Maddie, happy birthday! If that's the best
happy
thing
birthday.
you got, you did it to yourself. There you go. You got it. That shit's fucking gold. Fucking gold. So
everything in a proper Christopher Walken accent is or voice is gold. It's can't
Right?
go wrong.
It's so good. All right. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions about anything? We have a lot of things we can talk about. We can talk
do.
about. We can ask him questions about Fool Us. We can ask him questions about
America's Got
skydiving?
Talent. Yeah,
America's-
skydiving. I've been skydiving once.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, then that
I
defeated
mean-
the purpose of my joke because you're like, I haven't done it. All right, cool, done.
No, I have. I once the one time.
One time.
One time is my best friend Paul surprised me on my birthday, and he took me skydiving, and we drove like 3 hours to go to some place to go skydiving, and I didn't know we were going skydiving. He was like, your hint is to bring a passport, and that was like his hint that we're going to an airport, and then like we were, I just saw signs like, oh, we're at a little airport. I see a banner for skydiving. Holy crap! Did he buy me skydiving? Because the year before, I treated him to jumping off of the stratosphere in Las Vegas.
Oh wow.
Which is a controlled descent. So it's not quite a bungee jump because you don't come back up. It's just you fall while attached to a line, and then like 100 feet before you hit the ground or something like that, it just slows you down. But it's just a controlled descent. So he took me skydiving, and that was very. If you've never been skydiving before, first of all, it's fun. It is fun. It's definitely not for everyone. But it's so weird because you're so desensitized to the concept of skydiving because of movies and stuff. Where we see it in Point Break and Mission Impossible. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
And so you're like, yeah, skydiving is a thing. All right. It's like being attacked by a dog. You're like, it's a thing. And it's not until it happens, like, holy crap, this is terrifying. And it's not until you're in the aeroplane going up into the air and watching the world below you get smaller and then realizing I'm about to jump out of a fully functioning airplane. Yeah, I've seen it on movies, but I am about to do this. This airplane, I don't need to jump from it. I'm choosing to jump from it. And then they open the door and it's loud. First of all, it's loud. Anytime you see it in the movies where people are like, all right, I'll see you on the ground. Or when they're in the air, you're like, don't miss the drop point. That's bull. No, you can't hear the user. That's what you hear as you're descending, but you're there, and so the first few times you do it, you usually go tandem, which means someone's attached to you, so you can't mess anything up. They're attached to you, and so they just are like, all right, ready, 1, 2, and then you hear yourself go no. Yeah, it just happens. You just say no. That's what happened to me, and no. But you don't say no. You go no, because the instant you go tumble out of the plane, you see horizon, ground, horizon, sky, horizon, because you have to flip, because there's no way to just jump and go like this. Like, the momentum of you falling out will flip you around at least once. At least it did for me. Maybe it's because there are 2 people attached. And so you just do that, and you just nothing. You hear nothing, and you're looking, and you're like trying to shout to your friend, like, isn't this awesome? And they're just like, yeah, whatever.
Isn't this awesome?
Yeah.
And all they see is
you're
you
just like,
suck.
yeah. I fucking hate you. But it's exhilarating, and it's so interesting. And once like the absolute abject terror. Oh, and the weirdest part is like after 2 seconds, your body freaks out because any fall you've ever had in your life, like what's the highest you've ever fallen? Maybe 6-10 feet. Maybe you've jumped off a roof or something like that before. That's 1 story, 2 stories. Like your body isn't used to falling for longer than like a second. Or maybe on a roller coaster, your body, like the inertia, all of a sudden everything's up in your stomach, and then but it goes away after like 2 seconds. So after that first 2 seconds, your body's like, oh, we're not correcting. Gravity's not catching back up with us yet. So you have these like 10 seconds that after your body adjusts is really cool and really interesting because it's not something you can experience anywhere else. This complete sense of like you feel the wind, but like weightlessness essentially. Yeah. And then once the parachute happens, then you get caught up with it. But it's really cool. Very terrifying at first. I thought I was probably going to chicken out. And then I did it, and I was fine. Well, is it a thing I need to do every year? No. But is it a thing that I'm glad I've done? Yes, absolutely.
It's also a thing that if you ever decide to do like some type of like try to create your own like levitation or illusion where you have to defy gravity, you can use that in your studies.
Oh yeah,
that's part of your research. All right, so we had a question.
What's up?
The question was from Rob. Rob wants to know, how many doves do you have?
I own 6.
6. And what are their names?
Their names? Okay, so I have 4 females and 2 males. I name them before I find out their genders, because you can sex a dove, that's the term for you, but you have to like peer and look, and it's all thing. So I just paired them up, and then it's like, you're laying eggs, so there's males and females, and eventually I figured it out. But I named them before that. So the 2 males, the oldest is Lady Hawk, like the movie with Matthew Broderick and Rutger Hauer. And then we've got Jack. Those are the 2 males. And then I have 4 females, and they are Amelia, Poe, Noname, and Abraham. And those are my doves. Amelia, Poe is the troublemaker. I want to rename him Loki. Not that it would make a big difference to them, but because that's the troublemaker. And then Amelia is the one who's trained to fly back. So Amelia, I can give a little toss to and come back. Amelia flies from one hand to the other. Noname is the one that can do a return flight.
So they all do.
In Magic,
they all do different things.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, in a perfect world, they'd all be trained for return flight. But Abraham was a kind of like the runt. Abraham actually, when Abraham was born, with there were 2 eggs that hatched from that brood, I guess. But then the mom died, and that was one of my first doves, Flinch. So we had Flinch died, and then the baby died, and I was like, oh, maybe like I think the mom got sick and didn't feed the baby, and so but I managed to nurse Abraham back to health. But Abraham's a bit of a runt, so not as strong, like really can't fly very well. But now they all live outside in an aviary, so they've gotten stronger when it comes to flying. Because before they were living indoors in a pretty decent sized, like a flight cage, but now they have this aviary that's like 6 feet across, 4 feet deep, and like 6-7 feet tall. So it's a lot better situation for them now.
I've seen your structure, the pictures you posted. It looked amazing.
Yeah. So so I have 6 doves. 4 of them are show ready. That's how many I use in my dove act is 4. And then the 2 males I keep. One is because he's the first dove. He's one of the pair that I got back in like 2011, 2012. And so I keep him for sentimental value. And then I keep Jack around just because he's there.
Which is there one that you... I feel like every time we've ever hung out and gone on like Magic Castle or some other type of random excursions, you always had a bird with you. Is it always the same one, or does that change?
It rotates. What you do is you normally you'd have like a whole bunch of doves. Like you normally have like twice as many as you need. And then that way you can check their temperament from day to day and see whether or not they feel like cooperating, or whether they're like, or if they've laid an egg that they're sitting on. Like I don't like removing them when they're like, oh, you're sitting on an egg, even though I know the egg's not going to hatch. Like I know that you probably wouldn't feel good about being removed from, like, no, it's time for me to take care of my dolly. No, it's time for you to work. So I will check them. If I only need 1 or 2, then I'll check them to see who's cooperating. But normally I go with either Amelia or Noname, because like I said, Amelia is trained to fly from one hand to the other. So in my act, I produce a dove, and then I just do this, and then flies from one to the other. And then the other one, Noname, is trained for return flight. What that means is I can literally produce the dove and then toss, and the dove comes flying out of the silk and does a little, like a 4-foot arc, and then comes to my other hand.
Nice. Bird magic,
so
guys.
It just kind of... Yeah, so it just kind of depends on what I need the dove to do.
Yeah.
But normally it will be either Amelia or Poe, Amelia or Noname, because they're the best behaved. Poe is a dick, so I don't usually bring Poe places unless I have to.
Poe's a dick, guys.
Poe is a dick.
So everybody knows. Let me see what's next. Kenzo said Nathan was also part of the original cast of All About Walking with Me 13 years ago. Are
yes.
around,
God, was that 13 years ago? Huh?
This was a while back, so I had to back up a little bit. Yeah, he said 13 years ago.
That sounds right, because that was basically straight out of high school for me. That sounds about right.
Where was that?
Yeah.
At?
So this was in LA. So I was at OSHA. So I went to the Orange County School of the Arts. At the time, it still had the H in the title, Orange County High School of the Arts. Now it's just Orange County School of the Arts. And for our economics class, or government class, we had to run for president, and we did like a little political election just to kind of see the process and that kind of thing. And so I decided, what if I run for president as Christopher Walken? And they were like, let's do that. So I ran for president as Christopher Walken. I filmed a campaign video that was essentially like, it was me talking about, like a little bit about politics. And then all of a sudden, the Fatboy Slim Weapon of Choice music started fading in, and then I just did a parody of if you haven't seen Fatboy Slim's Weapon of Choice music video, see it. It's Christopher Walken, who is a trained dancer, by the way. Not a lot of people know that.
When he's dancing.
And he's just dancing in like this hotel lobby, and then at one point he starts flying. It's ridiculous and amazing. Like he still got some moves, at least at the time of this. And so then I just started dancing around the school, and instead of flying, I just did a backflip off of a wall. And so then that, went online and it didn't go viral or anything, but and then I had a few other videos, and I had one that hit about 900,000 views, where it's just me like explaining how to do a Christopher Walken impression. It's like a 10 or 20-minute video where I'm just breaking down, like, listen, this is, here's what it is. And those things, apparently, the director, creator of All About Walken, Patrick Sullivan, O'Sullivan, heard about me and asked me to come up to LA and audition for this crazy project called All About Walken, which is basically, depending on the incarnation, was about 6 to 8 cast members, and we were all doing basically sketches and improv games and reenacting scenes from movies as Christopher Walken. And it was amazing. So we had we had men and women, black, white, Asian. So Kenzo and I were like the two Asian Walkens, but he also had to play. He also had to do Woody Allen. Like everyone had to play multiple characters and stuff. And it was really, really wild and crazy. And so I had to learn the Pulp Fiction monologue or parts of it, because we did this thing where we had Pulp Fiction, and I think it was not King of New York. What's the other one? There's another one who's like, do you know who I am? I'm the Antichrist.
True Romance?
I forget. True Romance, thank you.
Thank
so
you,
it was
Kenzo.
Pulp Fiction and True Romance, thank you, running at the same time, except you would, like, someone had a remote control and you'd be swapping back and forth between them. And then at one point I had to go into Spanish because it was like, tu abuelo estaba enfrentado con lo muerto. Yo sabía. And it's like, oh, sorry, I had SAP on, and like he switched. I can't believe I still remember that. I don't know if it was correct, but that's what they taught me. Your grandfather was facing death, and he knew it.
And Kenzo took up all of your parts at one point?
I don't know, maybe. I just
taking...
remember, like, the original run was for a while, but I was straight out of high school.
Oh.
Straight out of high school. I was like 18 or 19 at the time of doing this. And I was like, I have college and things to do. And so, like, I wasn't available for some of it. And also, I think Patrick kind of didn't like me for a few different reasons. I think part of it was that, imagine, I don't want to say he was jealous, because that sounds like really, really full of myself. But for some odd reason, like, he just didn't like certain aspects of me. And granted, I was 19, so I was young. I was trying to do my best, but also, like, what do I know? I'm freaking 19, right? Yeah. And here I am hanging out all these, like, 20, 30, 40-year-olds who are in the show. But also, for, like, towards the end of the run, I booked Superbad. Like, I went and I auditioned for Superbad, and I almost landed the McLovin role, but they wind up casting me as, like, a smaller, just like a bit part. But they had me on set for, like, 3 days, and one of those days was a show day. And I was like, okay, on the one hand, I made a commitment to the show. On the other hand, this is my very first role in a real movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like I asked people, and they were like, yeah, you made a commitment, but also, like, this is a big deal. And I figured since we're surrounded by actors, they'd all understand. And I think that Patrick thought it was like a student film or something like that. It's like, well, I mean, good luck, go and do, this role in this thing. And I was like, all right. And, I honestly don't have any regrets. And I think that kind of put a damper on a relationship. And he didn't have me back for the extension of the run. I think, like, every once in a while they would call me and they're like, hey, we need, we're at a new theater now and we're short a man, so come in and play with us. And so that was really cool. Like 2 or 3 times that happened where I would come in randomly. Every few months they'd call me. Yeah, it was a really great experience. And like I said, it was like straight out of high school. I wasn't driving. I didn't have a driver's license. So I was at Fullerton College. I would take my bike to the to the train station, train from Fullerton up to LA, and then I'd take the metro to like Cahuenga and Hollywood Boulevard, and then I would ride up, I'd lock my bike, I'd do the show, and then my mom wouldn't have to come pick me up afterwards because there were no trains running that late. So yeah, it was a wild time, and I'm really glad that it happened. And yeah, Kenzo and I go way back because of that thing.
Yeah, Kenzo's saying that there is a black flip opening night without rehearsal.
That sounds about right. That sounds like something I do. So, like I mentioned in the music video, if you look it up, by the way, I think if you look up Chris Walken for President 2006, it'll pop up. And it's old and bad, and my Walken impression wasn't very good. And I think I had to redub. I had an ADR like my entire speech because we were in the lobby and it just sounded terrible. and so I had to go back and redub my Christopher Walken. And like I said, I do a backflip in that video. So they had me go close to the end of the show and recreate aspects of the music video. And then opening night, I think I just decided I'm going to try the backflip. And I remember them saying, "Don't do the backflip, Nathan." And I was like, "I'm going to try the backflip." And I did. And I think the story is that everyone's backstage, and it's a black box theater. And so the stage is just like, just wooden platforms essentially, but it's hollow. So anything that hits on it makes a really big, loud noise. Like, for instance, someone who doesn't completely nail their backflip landing on that stage sounds like somebody died. It sounds like someone fell out of a plane, crashed to the roof, and hit the floor. Like, it's loud. It's a boom. And so everyone's backstage and they show, boom, and some of them were like, "What the hell is that?" And some of them were like, "Damn it, Nathan!" Like, that is what I recall being the response.
Yeah, Kenzo agrees. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Yep.
Well, boom. He's like,
that?
boom, boom, boom.
Boom. Yeah. Boom.
Oh shit. Hold on, I gotta go
In
back
the
because I
boom
know
where
I'm
it
missing
happened.
stuff.
Oh yeah. What else do people want to hear about? I have an interesting life.
When were you at Bally's? Mini Maddie asked a while ago. I don't know if she's still here.
Oh, Bally's was 2 years ago. That was 2018, I guess. Yeah, because last summer I was on cruise ships. So yeah, 2018. I was there for about 5 months. I can't remember the exact dates. I think we finished around Labor Day. So I think I started early summer, ran through the whole summer, and then sometime around September, November we closed. I think beginning of September we closed.
And I came to visit you, right? That's the Masters Illusion show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I had a whole bunch, like, that was a wild time, so I don't remember everyone who came and visited and saw the show. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, so
we were pretty. When I went with some friends and we went to go see your show, me and you got tipsy, and then the night became a blur. Right. It was great. It was a great experience. It was
I don't remember having a bad time. I'll say that. So it must have been a great time.
It was good. It was,
So that was with Masters of Illusion. So for those who don't know, Masters of Illusion is this television program. We're on our 7th season right now. We're airing every Friday night at 8 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. There's like a new episode and then an encore episode. On the CW every Friday, 8 and 8:30, or 7:30 Central Time. And this is my 6th consecutive season being on the show. And in addition to being a TV series that was originally started back in the 90s, hosted by Harry Blackstone Jr., there's also a live touring show that I was a part of for many years. And then there was talks for a while about doing a Vegas residency. When it finally got up on its feet, it ran for 10 months total. They did the first 5 months with some people, and then they brought me in about halfway through. They brought me in after 3-5 months. And I came in and did the show. And it was, at the Bally's in that big theater. What is it? The old what's the name of that big show with the girls and the feathers and the
I'm sure someone
it's like the quintessential Vegas production show with the girls and the feathers and stuff. Anyways, but it's in this big old theater. It's where the Burt Wonderstone theater, like for Burt Wonderstone, they used this theater.
Jubilee.
Jubilee, thank you. It's the
Thank
Jubilee
you,
Theater. Yeah, so and that's about 900 seats, I think, somewhere, like, depending on who I talked to, it was either 8 or 1,000, like, it's somewhere in between there.
It was a nice
and
theater.
so it was nice, but also it was cool to have such a big house and with a union crew, and then for you to be like the one comedy magician, essentially, because everyone's like, we had Joseph Gabriel, who has this gorgeous dove act that ends with a macaw that flies over half the audience. And we have like levitating people. We have 2 sawing and halves happening at the same time. There's the chainsaw of death. We have like appearing motorcycles, all sorts of crazy. And here I just come out and I tell jokes and I'm like, look at the birdcage, it's gone. And then I do my little floating. I do my little up routine. So I have, it was very interesting. So I actually developed a routine from scratch just for the production. And I've yet to do it again. It's like just a thing for Masters of Illusion, essentially. But yeah, so I was there for about 5 months. I was one of, I think, 4 or 5 magicians featured. But what was nice is that we had like kind of like these roles in the show that we fit into, and every once in a while someone would like book a corporate gig or something like that and they weren't available, and so sometimes we'd have to fill in and do extra time. But the guy who his name is Federal Dillon, great guy, really funny, like truly
Dillon,
one of the best straight jacket acts in magic. Really funny, great sleight of hand artist. But he does this big spot, and he also does like the opening illusion, and he does like the closing illusion. So he's not quite the star, but he does have these featured moments. So every once in a while, he would one of the producers of the show was also his manager, so he got booked for stuff every once in a while, and they were like, "Yeah, go ahead and take the day off because the guy who's in charge of running this also books your acts." So yeah. So then on those days, I would step in. And so I got to do like this really awesome illusion at the beginning of the show some nights. And it's like Metamorphosis. For those of you who don't know Metamorphosis, it was invented by Harry Houdini. The one with the trunk. You put a girl in a bag or you shackle her up. You put her inside the trunk. You lock it, stand on top, raise a cloth, throw it up and drop it, or hold it up and drop it. When you drop it, now the other person's on top and the magician, whoever it is inside, tied up, right? And it happens in a split second. Truly one of the fastest illusions of magic. Classic.
Yep.
This is that effect on steroids because it's imagine now the box is plexiglass, so it's clear, with a front panel that slides in with a hole in it so that you can reach your hand through. So a magician climbs up, gets inside this plexiglass that's in air that's like on a podium, essentially. And then inside, lock, cover with a cloth that also has a hole. So the whole time you can see my hand through the thing, and then the girl would stand next to it with the cloth, hand part of the cloth to me. She'd stand over here, so the cloth was, side to side, and then raise cloth, drop it, and now, boom, I'm standing outside. Take the cloth, throw it away, grab it, and unveil that it's her with her, and now it's her hand, and she's been holding on to the cloth. Then we get her out of the thing, and yeah, so it's one of the few illusions that I would actually like buy and put in my act because it requires me to do something. My problem with a lot of illusions is that a lot of magicians just like it's the assistant doing. Spoiler alert! It's the assistant doing like all the work for most illusions.
Yep.
It really is. And that makes me feel bad because I'm like, you're a human being. You're not just a prop. You're not just, someone who's here to hand me things or take things off. So I feel like the magician should be doing more. And I come from musical theater, so I'm used to working my ass off, So this is fun because there's actually physicality involved because I got to, surprise, swap places with this lady really, really quickly. So that's fun. Yeah, the show was a lot of fun and the pay was decent. And now I can say that I've headlined Vegas. So
this is awesome. On the subject of assistants, don't you think it's interesting that people always say the assistant? So I feel like the laymen, the people who aren't magicians, would go. The magician is not the magician. The assistant is there pretty much to making sure my audio.
For misdirection.
I think my audio went down. Hold on.
Yeah, no, I can still hear you just fine.
Yeah, I'm checking my level because it looked
like
it dropped.
Sometimes you have to lock your audio levels.
Yeah, and this thing is give me 1 second.
Yep.
Check. Let me know if that works.
I can hear.
I know you can hear me. I'm locking it. All right. Yeah, I just saw it not going up.
Saying the assistants are just there for.
The assistants usually the perception is people think that assistants are there to move some things around, and that they come in and what they're doing is distracting from something else happening. Yeah. Misdirection, yes. And though in some cases that is true, I think it's funny that assistants don't get the credit that they deserve a lot of the time.
Oh, they really don't.
Because I feel like in some magicians, not all, some magicians, they do all the work. The magician is there like, they're really the showgirl or the assistant where they're presenting, but everybody now is looking at them going, I gotta look at the pretty girl, but I know the magic's over here, and the pretty girl's like, fixing all this, doing all the magic, and you're like, there are magicians where once they set everything up, they don't do anything. And I think...
Yeah, some of it is like that. I mean, I hope we're not ruining anything here, but yeah, I mean, some magic is very sleight of hand intensive, don't get me wrong. But there is obviously some magic that, like, hey, this giant box that you saw a woman have, guess what? That's not a skill-based thing. That's $10,000 worth of carpentry. Like, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Which is why it always blows my mind when I see an illusionist who, and in the magic world, there's a difference between an illusionist and other forms of magicians. Illusionists specifically refer to people who do large-scale magic, usually involving large props like boxes and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what we refer to as an illusionist. When I see illusionists who phone it in, and I'm like, you already are doing almost nothing most of the time.
Yeah.
How can you not muster up some energy and present to us? Like I always tell, so I do a lot of consulting for magicians, and I also do a lot of like teaching. Lately, I've been doing a lot of lecturing. So like I recently lectured in Israel, South Africa, and Singapore, as well as like few other magic clubs across the country. And one of the things that I always tell magicians, anyone that I work with, whether it's through these lectures or I'm consulting directly, I tell them take acting lessons, because acting lessons will get you used to not only expressing yourself, but also maintaining consistency.
Yes.
I think part of the reason that magicians fail in that regard is they're not used to manufacturing energy or sincerity or connection on a regular basis, because they feel like you feel something, but after you do it a few times, you don't feel it anymore. That's why people, escalate, like, oh, you start with roller coasters, and then you move to skydiving, and then after skydiving, there's bungee jumping or whatever is more intense or extreme, because our body, our brain, forms neurological pathways to become not necessarily complacent, but to get used to things. That's what we do, is we adjust as human beings. And when you adjust to performing something, tons of times, like whether you are on, like in Bally's, we were doing 6 shows a week. And lots of magicians cannot manufacture that kind of energy, sincerity, 6 nights a week. But as a Broadway person, that's what you train to do, is to be able to do this 8 shows a week, sometimes twice in a day, and acting lessons will get you there. Theater training will get you there. And so I'm always telling that to magicians, because there is no excuse, especially if it's an effect where the assistant's doing all the work. Like, all you have to do now is just smile and like connect with us, man. Don't worry about the method. We all know there's someone behind the curtain pulling a thing, or she's there with a remote control as the drone. I don't know, whatever. I'm just making up things.
You do both. You do a lot of close-up and you do a lot of stage stuff. What do you prefer?
You know what?
They're so different. They're so different.
They are and they're not.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a cop-out. I do love close-up a lot.
Yeah.
And I love the connection that you can have with close-up magic.
Yeah.
But I've been really falling in love with stage magic. But it's my brand of stage magic, which is kind of just like, it's parlor stuff that plays bigger. So we have close-up magic, which is, of course, intended for, to be viewed a few feet away.
Yeah.
We have stage magic, Grand Illusion, which is designed to be seen, on stage, whether that is 100 to like 1,000, 10,000. I once performed at Caesars in Ontario, and that was a 5,000 seat theater.
Wow.
Sold out. It was insane.
That's crazy.
Man, yeah, standing room only in the back. But then there's something in between called parlor magic, which is usually for like somewhere, between 20 and 100 or something like that. So it's not quite stage, but it's not quite close up either. And so I do parlor magic that plays well. I just let my personality play really big. I try to make sure that the visuals are something you can see from a distance, but it's about my personality, my connection to the audience, and the message that I'm kind of getting through. But I've really been enjoying that because it makes me feel like, or what I try to do, is to connect with them as if I'm doing a close-up performance. But I'm actually performing for someone, I'm trying to connect with that person who's all the way in the nosebleeds as much as I'm connecting with someone in the front row. But I have been enjoying reaching a bigger audience, is kind of what it's at. And also, I'm not going to lie, stage pays better than close-up. Because, it's the perceived value of, let's see, how much do you want to pay someone to entertain 5 people at a time? Now, you can do stuff that's called strolling magic, or walk-around or walkabout magic, which is where it's very popular at corporate events, cocktail hours, wedding receptions, that sort of thing, or restaurants, where you walk around from table to table, group to group, and you kind of have to be like a social butterfly and perform magic for people. And kind of, it's great at the beginning of an evening to kind of wake them up, get them chatting, give them an icebreaker to talk about. And that is really fun and different in its own right, because it's like you have to find the people who are like, okay, I'm going to go for the quiet people who need something to liven them up. Someone who isn't clearly engaged in a conversation. Like, that person's in the middle of talking about their trip to the Bahamas, not going to interrupt that, that sort of thing.
That
you can pay.
Is a really weird experience. Table to table.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's one of those, you got to figure out your crowd before you walk to it, but you got to figure it out in a second, because it might be this table into this table that's right next to it, and you're like, yeah, all right, cool, they're having fun. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna leave on a high note, and then you turn around and they're all like, they don't want magic.
Exactly.
Keep rotating. It's I don't know. There's just something about it's to me it's so similar to close-up in the sense of, street magic, you just do it right there.
Yeah.
But then it's like finding your audience where they can't just come to you.
Yeah.
And it's like
go to them.
Yeah. And hope that they want to see it.
Right. But every once in a while what will happen is that you'll walk up to a table and, you'll start your spiel. Like, I'll usually say, "Hi, I'm Nathan. I've been hired by the management to perform," and then they'll go like, "We don't like magic." And I'm like, okay, cool, no worries. And then I walk to the next table, do magic. They explode with laughter and applause. And as I'm walking away, that table that didn't want to say, oh, hold on a second. Well, let's see what you got.
Yeah.
And it's not that people don't like magic. It's just that they've seen too much bad magic.
Yeah.
And so they think they don't like magic, or all they've seen is Chris Angel and David Blaine, which is a very unique style of magic. They don't realize it can
They're
be fun. And
so radically different.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, Chris Angel and
you-
David Blaine are two completely different.
Yeah, like there's like me and David Blaine's like two polar opposites, because he's very like, and he has, not to say there's something wrong with that. He has his own very unique style. He's found his niche and his presentational style. And he's capable of doing more, because one of his specials, he put on old age makeup and was like, yeah, you know that David Blaine guy? Yep, I taught him everything he knows. And he does magic in a completely different character. So clearly he's capable of doing something different, but this is who he wants to portray. And then me, who's like this crazy high energy person.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the restaurants and corporate work, you can get paid good money, because it might be 100, 200, 300 people that you're going to be there for a couple hours strolling around. That can pay well.
Yeah.
But boy, I mean, to show up and do like one 45-minute show, or even like if you get lucky enough to get booked by a theater to come and do like a full evening show, that's solid. That can be real solid. And yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about trying to find, it's kind of like, you have to find a way to be successful, but in your own way. And so you sell out with as little compromising as possible. And for me, doing stage magic is kind of like selling out, but where I don't compromise is how I present myself and the way that I connect to my audience. Because it's real easy. I was talking to, you remember Robert Ramirez?
Love him. Yeah.
I was chatting with him, and he was like, magic's the only art you can buy your way into. And I'm like, interesting. I don't 100% agree, because I think photography you can buy your way into, because if you have a nice enough camera, you can get hired as a photographer even if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Not that I'm saying that makes you a real photographer. I'm saying people see you with nice equipment, they'll assume you're a photographer. Just like with magic, they see you with nice props and like, yeah, you must be a magician. And I know a few magicians who bought their way into magic. Absolutely.
I do
will
too.
not name their names, but I do. But I know them. As opposed to like painting, you can't buy your way into painting. Just because you buy the most expensive brushes and canvases in the world doesn't make you a painter. I don't think anyone looks at your stuff and says, ah, yes, you're a painter.
Yeah.
Or can't buy your way into. Kind of buy your way into. No, not really. I was gonna say like acting. Like you can buy good lessons, but that still doesn't buy your way into the theater.
Yeah.
World.
No.
I mean, you can kind of do what David Hasselhoff did and produce your own production of Jekyll and Hyde and star in it. But that's about as close as you can get to buying your way into it. But you still need to be like decent enough to that someone would feel comfortable saying yes to that.
Gotcha. Someone had a question for you.
Yep.
This is for a while. This is a while ago. The question was.
Sorry, we get carried away.
No, we do get carried away. Yeah, this was a while ago. It was. Where did it go? Let me find where it was. How was America's Got Talent? That was from Jenna. Jenna asked that a while ago.
Hi, Jenna. Fantastic question.
Before we got to
know,
True Romance.
Yeah. I don't know how much I'm legally allowed to say. Because the paperwork on that sucker is, the contract is literally this thing. It's like, I think the screenplay for The Irishman was thinner than this contract. Like,
wow.
It's thick. And it's full of NDAs and things like that. What I will say is that it was very educational.
Mm-hmm.
I am glad that I did it. If I ever felt compelled to do it again, there's really only like 2 circumstances that I'd go and do it again. But in so much that it was, I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I did it early on, because it was a really good stepping stone for me. Because I did it when I was 23. I was still doing kids' birthday parties.
For America's Got Talent? You were 23 for... No, was it? Because I went to when you did America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I was there.
I was 23.
You were that young?
13?
Really?
4 maybe? Yeah.
Because I was in the audience. You invited me. I was on your guest list. I don't... You were 23?
Yeah, because 2012, I quit Disneyland, joined the Magic Castle. 2013, yeah. So that was... No, maybe 24 then. Maybe 24 going on 25, because I was born in 88. So carry the 5. Divide, go to the prime number. Yeah, I believe I was... So it was 24 going on 25, I think.
25? Gotcha.
Yeah, so that was... Yeah, I know. I was young.
That was a fun experience.
It was... Yeah, and it was terrifying. And, like, we all know that reality television is code for shows that you don't know are scripted.
Yeah.
Like, that's what reality television is shows that you don't advertise as scripted.
Yeah.
And they have full rights to do whatever they want with the footage and use your image in perpetuity. Like they could, if they wanted to, America's Got Talent could do a slot machine and use my image and replicate my voice, and I wouldn't see a single dime from it.
Yep. Don't you love those contracts?
It's wild.
Those are
and
fun
it is
contracts.
Like it's the biggest scam in the world, is what it is. And let me tell you why. Because the real reason that they make money is, yes, on the one hand, can they? I think there's a fly buzzing around, or maybe it's just a bit of fluff. I think maybe it's a bit of fluff. Or maybe my meds are wearing off. Whoa. So what they do is, it is a talent competition show, but they get to pick who goes on it, right? Nobody actually walks in off the street. That's not how it works. Somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, we want you to come and audition. And there's already like 2 rounds of auditions before you go on to television.
Yeah.
And you go on, and then they get to pick, and they get to choose how they portray you. They get to sense who's doing well, who's testing well. And then what really happens is, once you get to like the final 10 or 8, they have the option to lock you into a management contract. And so what's brilliant about it is that they are now your managers, and they don't have to worry about advertising you, because the selection process to pick you already advertised you. So they get to sign someone that they know is going to bring them in money. And like the two things feed into each other, and it's kind of ridiculous. And they also have the right, it's like a hold fee or something like that. They have the right to make you turn down work. Like, if I had gotten to a certain point, they had locked me in a contract. If Spielberg had called me and said, we want you to do a movie about this, or whatever it is, the talent company, which I think is called Fremantle or something like that, they could have said, no, here's $2,000 and you have to say no to this. And there would have been nothing could have done about it. So it's a very educational, interesting experience. I don't recommend it to people in general, unless you want, basically, do the show if all you want out of it is the ability to say, as seen on America's Got Talent. And that's all I wanted, because I was still doing kids' birthday parties at the time. And so I just wanted to be able to support the reason why I could bump up my rate by another $100, $200.
And it worked?
Say, it worked. Because I'm like, oh, by the way, I was just on America's Got Talent. As seen on, I could put it on my website, as seen on America's Got Talent.
Just like the video and the pictures. It works,
exactly.
though.
And I really lucked out, because I got this thing happened where what you didn't see in that clip is that I did my straitjacket escape first, and I escape out of a straitjacket while singing Queen's I Want to Break Free, which I thought was quite clever. I want to break free, getting a straitjacket, like singing, straitjacket escape, and at the end I produced like a 5-foot American flag on a 3-foot pole out of the straitjacket waving through the air. But by that point, I had received 2 X's. And I'm not quite sure why. I think it's because I was trying to time it to the music, and I was nervous, because you want, for the best dramatic reveal, you want to escape at certain moments in the music, right? You escape too early and, like, game's up. But I also got nervous that I get stuck in the straitjacket. So I got to, like, the 3/4 point of escaping way too early. And so I had to stall a little bit as I was escaping, and I think they took that as, uh-oh, he's faltering, he's not getting out.
And your drop, you know how you have that fall?
Yeah.
You have the comedic fall?
Yeah.
Your show's so, like artsy, in the best way, that you having a comedic drop, some people don't process it as a comedic drop, because they're already looking at the art of it. And I think that freaked them out, so they thought you were stumbling when in reality it was part of your act.
I just know Howard Stern laughed at that. It was like the first moment he laughed is when I fell. And if you look at, you can find the footage.
Yeah, look it up.
But then I escaped, and they were like, well, and Heidi Klum's like, well, we like your personality, but we just don't think this act is worth $1 million. Do you have anything else you can show us right now? Maybe change our minds? And so many people think this is scripted, and I swear this truly wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
They asked me to do another trick.
I was there, and I was like, the fuck?
And luckily, I had a deck of cards that I'd handed off to our friend David.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and I handed off the props. I'm like, David, cards. Threw me the cards.
On the stage. You didn't even leave.
I was just like, take it, please. And I did like the roughest, worst version of card to mouth ever. But it got me 4 yeses to go through the next round. So I got some solid TV time, and I got a redemption arc in that one episode.
Yeah.
And so that was,
And you went from, and the funny, I think it's really interesting how stories, art, magic, you come out, you prep this big magical moment, and it gets perceived one way, and then you come in with a deck of cards, they're simpler, but one of the simplest forms of magic to a layman, and you go, look at this, clack, clack, clack.
On a stage, yeah.
On a stage, with and we're
At
in the Pantages Theater.
2000 theater.
Is it 2000? Yeah, we were at the Pantages Theater.
3000, yeah.
And I'm in the balcony watching him. I'm like on his guest list, and then a camera crew comes running, and I'm like, "Why is the camera?" And I'm like, "Oh, because they know it's your scene, and they know we're seated." So camera crew's like hidden in an angle recording us, and I'm like, "Oh," and me, I was like the drunk guy. I wasn't drunk. It was like I felt like it was like 12 in the afternoon. It was like 12 noon or something like that. It was like it wasn't even late. It was like it was like early evening, and you see the card fall in. You do this big thing. They're all like, "Whatever." Then you're like, "All right." 300 seats? Let me do a card trick. And I remember them going, what the? And they're just like, yes. And I was like, it's just funny to me how it doesn't matter how big your stage is. It doesn't matter if you have one person or 10,000 people. If you can mess with someone, and I don't mean that in a magical sense, but if you can mess with someone internally, by a story, which is why I love movies, with a story, with a piece of art, with a piece of magic, where emotionally their brain hurts for a second, you got them. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if they're two inches away from you or a mile away from you. If you affect that person, they're gonna remember.
It's such a fun thing, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if you present it right, because
Yeah.
if you present it like a stunt or like it is a challenge, and so many magicians present magic in a very way that's like, I'm going to challenge you, audience, to figure out what I'm doing, as opposed to let's have fun with this together. Yeah, if you get to create that moment for someone, it is something you cannot experience in any other art form.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's wonderful, and I like it a lot. Sorry, I was just posting to my Facebook. I think it finally let me post on my professional page that we're still chatting. So you can come and join us.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, exactly.
Technical.
Yeah, I tried to post earlier and it just didn't let me. All right.
Yeah,
I did not ration my water correctly. I need to do a bathroom break. Is that doable? Can you just like take over the stream and look at some questions, and then I'll be right back?
Yeah, go do that.
Yes. Cool. Can I turn off my camera for a second? Is that
if you need to?
Yes.
Hopefully it doesn't mess things up.
I'll be right back.
All right, cool. So Nathan is gonna go pee, and because I'm here, why not just keep talking? I'm gonna look up. I'm sorry, guys. It's easy for me to lose track of what's happening on the chat. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. If you're still around, please say hi. I know I missed a couple things. So if I'm backing up, I see Rob talked about Masters of Illusion. Watching Farrell Dillon is like, yeah. If you guys ever look up Farrell Dillon as the magician, I met him a few times. Good guy. The stuff he does is dumb, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. I loved him being associated to my circle of magician friends and watching him do stuff. He is amazing. Yeah, we'll talk about magic. Maybe talk about the making a little bit of magic. Maybe teach a trick. I don't know. I wanted this to be as. I didn't want this to be a planned thing. Me and him usually just talk and bullshit. I'm letting him talk more than I am, because we're here for him, and he's super talented, and you guys should all see his stuff, like, for reals. Yeah, Nathan didn't buy his way into magic. Nathan has worked really hard, and he was a big part of my Up in Smoke, especially when I needed props for stage, because he has a lot of it. So he came in, he was in it, and he let me borrow them. So if you ever watch my trailer, it's on my aSecondReality Instagram, and it's also on YouTube. So if you want to see the Up in Smoke trailer and you can see him and all his stuff, do that. Now that he's back, I'm going to keep going down the list of stuff.
Sure.
Mini Maddie said, oh, AGT, I thought it was this year. No, that was like 2017, 2018.
2013.
2013.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Mini Maddie, look that up. It's really good. I was there. I was screaming. You can probably hear me screaming like a little.
What I should do is I should take that clip and upload it on my own page. Like I never
that
took
would
it.
Be smart.
And did anything with it.
That would be smart.
I think every time AGT, because it's owned by Fremantle Media, is really good at locking down on those sorts of things, though, on videos that someone has uploaded this and that's not allowed. Like anytime I upload one of my TV appearances and it doesn't get flagged, I'm very surprised. Like I'm lucky that Fool Us let me upload my clip. And that turned out really, really well because my Fool Us clip is at like it's like 6.2 million views right now.
On your page?
Wild. Yeah. I uploaded
Wow.
it, and I also, but because of that, I also crack down. I do that thing where I crack down if someone else has uploaded it. I'm like, please take this down.
Really?
I'm
Oh,
gonna ask you nicely.
if
Yeah,
if
because
someone,
it's my act. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like it's not like if it was CW, can't do anything about it. The official Fool Us channel, which doesn't really exist,
Yeah.
would be. But it's just like there are some people who just enjoy uploading magic videos to
Yeah.
to YouTube, which
and
is
that's their
fine.
thing. They just
Yeah.
do magic, or they like to spoil it. Because I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
people who just spoil magic. Yeah.
Gosh, Dutch. How dare they?
Where was it? Someone asked, "What did you do for Disney?" My friend, my bestie Jenna was like, "What did you do for Disney?" Since we talked about Disney,
Oh.
that's from the early
I
days
worked-
too.
Yeah,
Huh.
that was 2010 to 2012. I worked at Disneyland. Surprise, surprise! In the Main Street Magic Shop. So a year and a half, I worked in the magic shop on Main Street, which used to be like run by Disney, and then that magic shop shut down for a bit. And there's a gentleman by the name of Gino Munari who owns the Houdini's chain of magic shops. So there's a bunch in Vegas. There's one at Pier 39, up in San Francisco, and they had like some kiosks out in downtown Disney. And so Gino saw this, like, well, you can't shut down the magic shop at Disney. Like, Steve Martin used to work there. Like, it's like institution. This is horrendous. This can't be allowed. And so he said, tell you what if we reopen it as a third party, an operating participant is what it's called, OP. And so we'll staff it with our own guys. And so and we'll train them and we'll sell our stuff, and you don't have to worry about anything. And then I assume there's like some deal where they receive a percentage of sales or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I technically worked on Disney premises, but I didn't work for Disney. I didn't have to go through their scheduling department. Like, we scheduled our own people. And so I had the ID, but it was the color that meant that I could get in, but I couldn't sign anyone in. And I got like a certain discount. So like I got to go to Disneyland whenever I wanted. But also when you work at Disney, at least for me, I was like, I'm good. I'm here
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 days a week. I'm good.
Yeah, when
Sometimes
you're
I
there,
stick around.
when you're there, you don't, you get the energy, you get the magic. It's
Yeah.
part of you now. You're just like,
I did like it. It was a lot of fun. And the reason I left was not because of Disney. The reason I left was because of the people I was working with. I just no longer enjoyed working with them because they were. We had one person who was very, not very self-aware, and not a very good magician, not a good entertainer. His technique
Gotcha.
was fine, but then he also got like caught with like weed in his pocket or something like that, so he got fired. And it's like, okay, well. And then there's another guy who just like wasn't very nice. Like, he was. I don't want to talk about him because I don't want him to get any attention from this. But basically, like, there were a couple people there who I just did not enjoy being around, and so I left because of that.
And
and
then-
then very interesting.
and then look what
Go ahead.
happened. You leave there, you become a Magic
I left
Castle
there, and
member,
the next year I was like, yeah.
and
I
then
joined the
you,
Magic Castle.
and then you do AGT, like,
And then the very next year I did America's Got Talent, and then I followed that up by doing Wizard Wars.
yeah. Look at that. All right.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
But it was, well, yeah. Any other questions? So that
Oh,
was a great experience.
Yeah, it just I'm backing up because I'm missing
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, AGT,
On-
like, and Disney.
If
that
you ever
was
get a chance to work at Disney but not for Disney, I recommend it because you get all the perks. You get to go to Disneyland whenever you want. You don't have to worry about people bugging you to sign them in because you don't have that ability. Yeah, but someone else handles it and you still get a paycheck and it's all groovy. I like it. Operating participants. OPs.
We have let's see. I know a lot of people. Kit Kat said hi. You met Kit Kat during Up in Smoke. She helped with
yes,
the production.
yes.
She said hi in the chat. I know a couple people said hi. I'm trying to go down. Some person named FKJJJ. Hey, can we do magic? He also said, I met Nathan at Masters of Illusion and some other magicians. Nathan is very awesome. What's one trick you like to perform on stage? That's from FKJJJ.
Oh, there's so many.
Right.
There are a lot of tricks that I enjoy performing on stage. One of my favorites is what I close my act with, and now I close my act with my straitjacket. But I no longer sing Queens I Want to Break Free. I now escape from a straitjacket, as you saw in my reel if you're watching it earlier, while singing Nessun Dorma, which is an aria from Turandot. It's a pretty famous one. It's the one that goes Nessun Dorma, Nessun
yeah.
Dorma, Tuopure, and it's the one that ends with that crazy, and so that's probably not the right key. But yeah, but that to me is really great because now I get to not only show off my singing, but it's not just like shoehorned in. It's this thing of opera singing requires a lot of physical discipline because of being able to support the diaphragm and things like that.
Yeah.
And being restrained and trying to physically escape kind of combat each other. And so each one enhances the other because it's impressive you can sing this. It's even more impressive you can sing this in a straitjacket while you're escaping. And it just kind of like ticks all the boxes for me. And also both things don't detract from each other because originally I really wanted to work that song into my act. And so I was doing card manip. I was like, oh, what if I take the hardest trick I know, card manip, and I add that to the hardest type of music I know how to sing. And the problem is that they're both detracting from each other because you either wanted to focus on me singing or focus on the cards appearing out of my hand. But the nice thing about a straitjacket, it's very linear. You start in and you finish out. There's no little tiny surprises along the way, really. Like you can have moments that happen, but nothing that detracts too much.
Yeah.
And so because it's linear, then you get to appreciate the music. And it's something that most people have heard enough that at least you recognize it and you get to appreciate it, but once again, doesn't distract. So that's one of my favorite things to perform. But I have a lot of fun things that I enjoy performing. Most of them involve singing, because I recently, like about 2 years ago, I was like, I learned how to sing. Why am I not doing this in my show? That's dumb. And so now, like, I have developed, like, I don't want to be too gimmicky. Like, a lot of people said it might be too gimmicky if you sing all the time. And I think it's only gimmicky if you're bad at singing. Like, there's this one magician who is very mediocre at singing and very mediocre at magic. But he's not famous, but he has his own show in Pigeon Forge, which Pigeon Forge is like the Branson of Missouri. No, sorry, Branson is in Missouri. Pigeon Forge is in Tennessee. Sorry. It's kind of like a little tiny mini Vegas. Like there's theaters and stuff like that out there. But he's got his own show out there, but he's just very mediocre at both things. And I think when that's the case, then it comes off as gimmicky. Because when you are, you have to be good enough at both things that you could do just one of those other things as a profession, but you just happen to be doing both of them. As opposed to being someone who's like, you weren't good enough a singer to make it as a solo singer, and you weren't good enough of a magician to make it as a solo magician. So let's take these two things and put them together. And that's not what it should be. But I mean, that isn't to say that there's anything. This magician is talented, and without someone like them to kind of pave the way, it would be a lot more difficult for me to do what I do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, not that I just cast dispersions on my fellow magicians. They all work hard, but there are some things about them that are like, you could be better at this. And it makes them that you're not. That's all. You could be better. It's like loving America. I love America, but you could be better, America. Come on.
I backed up again. Rob Balchunas, our lovely friend Rob, because we both know Rob, asked a while ago. Hey, and it's perfect. It's perfect because it goes, Rob asks one thing and then Kit Kat says one thing and they kind of work together. So Kat says, how did you guys meet? And then Kit Kat right under it says, Up in Smoke.
Okay.
Which is not connected, but it's a good, like,
kind of, it's
kind
a
of
good
curve
segue
into Up in Smoke if we chose to talk about it. How did we meet? We met with, I think, mutual magic friends?
It would be... Yeah, so here's what happened. So let me backtrack to before we met.
Here's what happened. Here's what happened. What happened?
Back in 2000, I'm gonna say either 2009, I joined this dinner theater company called Gourmet Detective. I kind of got I was in an improv class with someone, and they were like, "I'm the production manager for this place, and we do murder mystery dinner, and we'll pay you to act." And I'm like, yes, please. And so, because I mean, I was like 21 and making some money acting. I was like, this is great. Because that's what I was going to school for. This was and I was still doing like some magic, but I hadn't like fully monetized on it yet. And so I went and I did this murder mystery, and it was out in Corona, and it was this great 20s themed murder mystery show. I got to play 3 characters back to back. It was awesome. I got to open the show as this German owner of the restaurant, very flamboyant German owner of the restaurant, I think Broadway Melody. And then I have to quickly go and turn around and change and put on a different outfit, and I come back in as Ken Worthington. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm this, I'm an ex-mafioso guy who's trying to produce this Broadway show. And then I turn around and I have to play Rafe Chester, who is the leading actor in the show that you all just saw that night. Because this is the opening night party for a Broadway show. And so I have to, change my physicality, my voice. And it was a lot of fun. It's like one of my favorite acting gigs ever. And to this day, every once in a while, they'll email me saying, are you free this Friday? Someone dropped out of the cast and they're still doing the same show. So it's like, yeah, sure. So every once in a while, before the pandemic at least, I would just pop in. I'd be like, I'm in town. and I would just pop in and I would do murder mystery for like no money because it does not pay a lot. But it's a lot of fun. Anyways, so I was doing this production and we were in Corona. No, Riverside. Sorry, we were in Riverside. By Main Street, historic Main Street. By
Yes.
Mission Inn. And one day, and like I said, I was involved in magic. Not a lot. A few kids' birthday parties here and there. One day, just, there, and one of the things that I would do for pre-show is I would do magic. And of course, I'd do it like this old German man, like, I learned this trick back in, Berchtesgaden, watch this, and, that kind of thing, whatever. And so I walked up, and as I'm doing magic for this group, I look at one person, I'm like, that guy looks familiar. Holy shit, is that Adam Wiley? That's Adam Wiley from Gilmore Girls and Masters of Illusion. And I saw him play Bach at the Pantages just like a couple of years ago. And so he saw me do magic and he was like, and he like did a deck production. I was like, ooh, that's very good. Mr. Tenkai would be so proud. Like, and not saying it like to knock him down, but like saying like, I know what that move is, just so that he would know like, I am aware that we are both on this level, that we both have this knowledge, like is how I meant it. I hope it played off that way. But I mean, after the show, like total bromance. Like we just started geeking out and talking about magic. And so he's like, hey, I hang out with some magic buddies. Let's set up a play date. And so I did, and that's how I met.
Me.
Yeah, we met. There was a few of us that was, let's see, it was Herb, myself, Adam. We had David Bonfadini.
Oh,
we had
talented
Lucas
Nathan.
Allen Brenneman. Huh?
I've said, yeah, the talented Bonfadini, Lucas. Oh, some of the stuff he made, I freaking loved. We had Lucas, who was the mentalist, and then we had Robert Ramirez, who is
Robert Ramirez. Yeah,
awesome
musical theater guy. Yeah,
and I knew him.
Robert Ramirez and
I knew him from college, so it's funny how like it just came back
yeah.
in and was like, oh, I knew you, but I didn't know you, and it just kind of just worked out. And that was a fun little group when we had it.
Those were some good years,
Yeah.
And then we would just hang out and we would session and talk about magic and ideas and stuff like that. And it was actually, I think, pretty instrumental for all of us.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
Sessioning, for people who don't know, is kind of what magicians do. Kind of get in a room,
Magic.
show a trick, someone else looks at it and goes, oh, and then I don't understand how you did that. And you kind of, it's like a circle of trust. So you actually will tell another magician off of trust alone how you do a trick, and how maybe, and depending on how people make it their own, you might go, this is what the trick is, but I did it this way because I learned that X, Y, and Z. And then I would come by and go, I would never do the first version. Your version's good, but I would do this,
Yeah.
And then
sometimes, we would just help each other out with methodologies.
Yeah.
Like, oh, have you considered using this move instead? Or, oh, what was that move? Show that to me again. Or like, hey, do you mind if I take, like, whose trick is that? And then you try to figure out, because you don't want to steal material.
Yeah.
But you can absolutely, utilize a plot, because there are certain plots in magic, as we call them. Like, object to impossible location, very popular plot. And so that can be a ring inside of a gumball machine, or a dollar bill inside of a piece of citrus fruit, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so, you would chat with your mates and figure out, okay, well, what is like, I don't want to steal from you, but I love this concept. So maybe we can figure out how we can repurpose this, or how would this now fit me, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least that's what should happen. Sometimes that's not what happens among magicians, but that's another story. So we would meet and we'd hang out. It's like a music jam session, like a bunch of musicians getting together and jamming. And that's what it was. And you would talk about methods and plots and ideas, potential routines that you wanted to do, that sort of thing. And help each other out in presentations. Like, all right, how does this play for you? And, some of us are thinking it from a more magical perspective. Some of us think of it from a more
Technical.
acting perspective. We had a really good mix because basically everyone had experience as an actor, actually, I think. Right?
Yes.
Yes. You're an actor. Robert's an actor. He does musical theater. Adam, Robert, and I all do musical theater.
Yeah.
Lucas has acting and writing experience.
Yeah.
And then Bonfadini also did some acting as
Yeah,
well.
he was in
and so
Holes,
it
or
was
he
nice
was in
to
a
be able to
couple
approach things. And we all had different kind of like specialties.
Yeah.
And so like, Bonfadini loved close-up magic, very impromptu, very in the moment, spur of the moment kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then Herb loved close-up magic, but also like kind of high energy, but in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
And then we had Adam his focus was still like acting, like voice acting, and acting in musical theater was still like his thing, but he did know magic, but he was also like a child star, so he brought a unique kind of spin on it.
Yeah.
And then Lucas was a writer and a mentalist and had a day job. Robert Ramirez, at the time when I met him, was touring with In the Heights, which was the first Tony Award-winning show that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote, of obviously Hamilton fame. But he was touring in that, so he happened to be in town. So we all had. So he was a musical theater guy as well, but like more like full-time musical theater, full-time voice actor who also does musical theater, full-time day job guy who also does writing and also does magic. So we all had, and then I was doing kids magic. Like that's what I was doing at the time. Like every weekend, anywhere between 2 to 5 children's birthday parties is like what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, like, oh, I got booked for a close-up gig. Oh, I got booked for this like small stage show, parlor show. And then it was really nice to be able to chat with other people about magic, people who some of whom are very close in ideals to you, and some of whom are not. And it's one of the reasons why Penn and Teller work so well together, is because they're both similar in many ways, but they're also both drastically different. And
Yes.
I think that helps pull unique material out and stuff that plays well for a whole wide range of people.
Yeah. If you guys have a masterclass, I highly recommend, for someone who doesn't know magic, watch the masterclass of Penn and Teller.
Penn and Teller?
Yeah, it's not
on masterclass.com.
It's more. It's. So I watched it because I was curious, and it didn't teach me anything new, but the ideology of Teller is fucking amazing.
He's brilliant. He's literally a genius.
He's brilliant. They talk about so many things, and Teller, who again, if you've never heard him talk, like he's a very articulate man, and he talks about his childhood and his beliefs, and he gets emotional in it. And this is in the masterclass, and I was watching it, just watching how emotional he got about the art, and that alone was like, this is worth it. Now, as a professional magician or someone who's not a beginner, it doesn't necessarily help you in the sense of, hey, I want to learn something new, but it will show you something you know and give you a different perspective of it that you might look at slightly different in a better light to make your own version better. But for ideology alone, for the thought of magic, for how
magic theory,
yes, it's great. So if you have it, look it up. They only show, I think, one trick. They don't really show anything super advanced, but it's just great. So, a random plug. Cool. And then I'm sorry, guys. I know like we are going through questions that were asked earlier.
Backlogged. Yeah.
This is the moment. Oh, any future shows in Vegas scheduled?
Oh, for me?
I think so, because I think this came out when we were talking about Vegas.
Yeah. Not at the moment. Vegas is. I mean, I think I literally only have one public appearance scheduled, and that's for like March of next year.
Gotcha.
And that's like it's going to be like a magic convention out in Tennessee, I think. And that's the only thing that's like solidly on the books.
Gotcha.
Other than that, no, nothing planned for Vegas at the moment. I don't trust I've been asked because there are a few things that are kind of like reopening in Vegas. I don't trust them yet. I don't think we're at that point. And I am a little bit more hesitant than perhaps some others. But then again, both my parents had coronavirus, so like I've seen it close up, and I want no part of that. So I'm gonna play very, very safe. Yeah.
All right.
So not at the moment, unfortunately. But if you are interested in that sort of thing, yeah, follow me on Facebook. If you just go to facebook.com/magicasianman, or I usually post it on my Instagram or even on my website, magicasianman.com. There's a tab that says upcoming, and I post all my upcoming stuff. Like whether it is local, like Teatro Martini is one of my standby gigs. It's in Buena Park, just a couple blocks of north of Knott's Berry Farm, and it's a really fun kind of like cabaret vaudeville type show that's great for an adult night out because we've got girls in short skirts, we've got dirty jokes, and we've got great acts. We always have an aerialist. We have like a rig system, so someone can come in with a hoop act or a lyra act, and then I'm their like kind of default magician. If I'm in town, I'm performing there. So whether I'm performing there or it's appearances on TV or cruise ships or whatever, I always post it there. So if you check out magicasianman.com, click upcoming, you'll see all my upcoming stuff.
Do it, and then follow him on socials. Mini Maddie has a question.
Yes.
Our beautiful Mini Maddie, we call her Shakira in our community. She is awesome. We love when she's here. It's probably super dark where she's at. She asked about your accent. Earlier she asked and I missed it. But she was like,
yes.
It sounds Scottish, but then it doesn't.
Yes. I grew up in Scotland. So when I was 1, I was born here in the States. When I was 1, I moved to Scotland. And then I lived there till I was 11. And then I moved back to America. So I do have this very strange kind of like muddled accent. And then on top of that, so not only did I grow up in Glasgow, which if you're not familiar, Glasgow is like the part of Scotland that everyone makes fun of the accent for, because it's just totally like completely incomprehensible type of accent, right? Because it's very bouncy, there's a lot of cadence kind of going along with it. But it's like the Cockney of Scotland because it's got a lot of glottal stops and things like that. And so that's the accent that I grew up hearing. And then I got rid of my accent when I moved to the States because I'm really good at accents and voices and stuff. That's part of like my act is I will like sometimes do an entire act in a different voice just because I can. And I also do dialect coaching on the side. Like every once in a while, someone's like, "We need our Shrek to sound Scottish. We need our Ebenezer Scrooge to sound English." What kind of English do you want? There's a lot of different types. And so I got rid of the Scottish accent for a long time, but then I also grew up doing theater. So I have the natural accent that wants to happen is very like when I say glottal stops, what I mean glottal stops are when you cut the T's in the middle, like water, like a Cockney person says water, not water, but water. That's a glottal stop. And so there's lots of those, but then my theater training tells me to pronounce my T's. So I have a very sloppy Scottish accent mixed with many years of being in America, mixed with theater training, which just creates this wild conflagration of things that just sounds ridiculous. And I do turn it up a bit when I get on stage or when I'm getting, like, when I'm representing myself professionally, I turn it up a notch. In my real life, like, it's really, really faint and only in the background. And it depends on who I'm hanging out with, too.
Yeah.
Because if I'm hanging out with my family, accent goes away. If I'm hanging out with certain friends that I met through magic, accent naturally comes back. Like, it's this weird subsection in my head where, like, sometimes I'll meet people who, like, or, like, there are certain casinos in Vegas, too, where I'm like, ooh, Caesars. I'm always Australian in Caesars. Like, random things where I'm like, in different moods and different groups of people will elicit different accents out of me. But yeah, Scottish. Very, very, very watered down Glaswegian, as it is.
And she got it. She was even saying earlier, she was like,
Yeah.
I think that's Scottish. And I guess she has some friends from worked with someone from Glasgow. Yeah. So there you go, Maddie. I'm backing up because.
Good job.
See Nathan's accent. So my bestie, one of my besties, Jenna, asked the question, and the question comes from her husband, and the question is, what do you think of Chris Angel?
What do I think of Chris Angel?
Yeah.
So I have a few friends in common with Chris Angel, and they all say he's a decent enough of a guy, but he's also a little bit. He's you know what? He's mellowed out a lot recently, apparently, because he used to be a bit of a raging diva, and which is kind of logical to expect when you rise to fame really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, that isn't to say that he hasn't worked a long time, but like that Mind Freak show made him. You work 10 years to be an overnight success, as they say. But that kind of like skyrocketed him. And he does have some decent magic chops. Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with all the choices he makes on stage, but that's for him. You know, like that is, we all create our own identity. It's like saying, I don't agree with the way you played Hamlet. You know, like we all have a different way that we would play or portray that sort of thing.
Yeah.
He kept magic popular, which was really, really nice. Him and David Blaine kind of brought about a renaissance in magic.
Yeah.
Or not a renaissance, but like a rebirth of magic, but in a completely different style.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite magician in the world. I probably would never pay to go see him, which is fine because I have enough friends who could get me in to see his show, apparently. His new show is supposed to actually be good.
That's good.
Because he was at Luxor for a while, and then he moved to... And then they rebooted his show, essentially, and his new show was supposed to be way better. And then he also mellowed out because he had a son who got cancer or something.
Oh.
And I think that kind of just like mellowed him out a bit. I think that just helped him like reconnect to being a human being. I know that sounds weird, but you know, sometimes something happens in your life and makes you reevaluate the way that you act and behave. And I think that's kind of what happened to him. But apparently he's a lot nicer now. I have a few friends in common with him, and he's supposed to be a nice enough guy. And it's not like I would see him and go, ugh, and walk away. Yeah, right? Yeah, he's like,
you're like, la la la.
Yeah. Right?
Someone's doing a magic trick.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Boo.
You're like, no.
Like the old hag from Princess Diaries. Boo, boo, filth, muck. Whatever. No, that'd be so rich. But he's but that's my opinion on him. He is very influential. I can't deny that. He's not my favorite magician. but he's undoubtedly popular and successful for many reasons, and all you can really do in those situations is look and say, okay, why is this? What can I learn from this? Right?
Yeah.
Whether it is something that I want to do, something I don't want to do, what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no real big emotions on the matter.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think his show did help Magic. It brought it back into the limelight, just like David Blaine did. But I feel like David Blaine, to me, David Blaine versus Chris Angel. I don't know why I use the word versus, because they're so radically different, and they're two different. They did two different things to the Magic community. Chris Angel brought it in one way, and then had a weekly show. To me, David Blaine brought it in kind of as an event, kind of like,
right, and have these specials that came out every year.
Yeah, but he also did like because he was, everybody's influenced by Houdini, but David Blaine is so specific with Houdini. It wasn't, hey, I'll have a show every week. It was, hey, I'm gonna do a special, but before that, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna bury myself alive, or I'm gonna,
Yeah.
So he made it
be a big stunt. Yeah,
there's gonna be, it was an event that everybody people in New York would go and watch, London, and then see their special. So to me, it was two radically different approaches to it, both slightly gothic. One more gothic than David Blaine, who was kind of dark. He was
more stoic than anything. He was stoic and mysterious. Is kind of a good way of putting it. And he was a little dark, but I don't think he was super gothic. Like, he was dark, right. But whereas Chris Angel was like,
I'm goth,
way more gothic.
With the hair and everything. Yeah. All right. FKJJJ asked, how come Teller doesn't talk during a performance? Is it an act he does, or is it his personality in real life? I can talk about that, because I don't know if you know. Do you know? Because I know.
Go ahead. And then I'll add on anything that I feel. Yeah.
So there's a lot of videos you can find on YouTube, including the master class, where Teller talks about it. Like, you can actually hear his voice, and he talks about the power of not talking, which is interesting because his philosophy isn't that philosophy alone. How he described it, at least on the things that I've seen. Obviously, we've probably seen different things. Isn't just with magic. It's just with people. If you're quiet and you listen, that's more powerful than someone talking. The person listening has the power. So he brings that into his magic, because with him not saying a word, people are interested. He could stand there, and he's a magician, he's going to do something. He lets the magic speak for itself without saying two things, Now you have his opposite, which is Penn, who comes in, and Penn's just loud and obnoxious. I don't want to say obnoxious, but he's loud. And so now you have the polar opposites, the quiet guy and the loud guy. If you have both of them in front of you, who are you going to look at? Most likely you're going to look at Penn, because he's loud and he does a lot of movements, because that's just how the brain works. There's loud noises and movement, your eyes jot to it. Teller doesn't have to do anything. If he's on stage by himself, and you just see him go into a bowl of water, and you just see his hands go like this, and hundreds and hundreds of fish show up.
Goldfish.
Out of nowhere.
Completely empty.
Yeah, and he just like this, and he just more and more, and he just goes like this, and he just walks away. Think of the mentality from the point of view of a guest or an audience member with someone who doesn't speak two words. Now that's not saying he doesn't speak. He does speak, but his artistry doesn't come from the words he says. They come out from the act he creates and the moment he creates. And that's why, in my opinion, Penn and Teller work so well. They're so polar opposites in performance, and they both come from a different aspect of magic from their upbringing that they just gel well together.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing to keep in mind is that so Teller is actually a scholar. Like, he was teaching Greek and Latin in schools, is what he was doing before he turned to magic. And so, he discovered a little bit later on. There's a bit of an age gap between them. But Teller is, Penn is a juggler. He's a street juggler. He's, as he calls himself, he's carting trash. And they actually used to be three people in the act, and it's called the Asparagus Valley something or other. I always forget that last word. It's like Asparagus Valley Junction or something like that. And there's three of them. And there's a juggler, a magician, and something else. And and then they lost the third guy, and then it just kind of became Penn and Teller. And they discovered that when they were busking, when they're performing at fairs and things like that, Teller, it was so easy for him to to get focus and to get attention right away. Because if you are going to say like, "Hey, look at me," that makes you go like, "Oh, okay, what do you want, man?" But if you're just like, so here's what we're gonna do, and you get quiet, then people lean in. There's no backing away. You have to lean in, and when there's no words at all being spoken, then you have no choice but to focus.
Yeah.
And it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, which brings focus, which just makes you focus even harder because you're like, ooh, nothing. Okay, then this is important. And you have no choice but to lean in and just let the visuals tell the story of what's happening.
Yep.
And it's brilliant. His acts like bring chills all the time. Goldfish is wonderful. One of my favorite acts of all time is his Shadows routine. If you haven't seen Shadows, see it. It's one of the greatest pieces of magic in theater ever done. And it's beautiful and lovely. Check it out.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Cool.
More questions.
So it's a choice. Yeah, it's a choice. Incidentally, if you go to see them in Vegas once everything reopens, if you hang out in the lobby, they immediately rush the lobby and will literally talk to every single person in the lobby until everybody leaves. Like, they will literally talk to all 600-700 people in their audience. They will sit there and chat with them and take pictures and sign autographs. And Teller is there, and they're separate. But Teller talks. The instant the show's over, he starts talking. Yeah.
There you go. All right. I'm still going down the line.
Yep.
FKJJ also asked, do you know Devontae Magic? He's a mentalist.
No, sorry.
Nope. Me neither. Kit Kat. David Copperfield. Have you met him? What do you think of him?
Have I met David Copperfield? Yes, I have. Robert is friends with Chris Kenner, who is Copperfield's manager, and also consultant. And so I got to see Copperfield's show a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. What do I think of him? I think that he is an icon. Obviously, he's also the very first magician to ever become a billionaire. And he also, I think, watching a lot of his specials growing up definitely influenced my sense of storytelling in magic. His personality type is not the type of personality type that I bring to stage, because he, once again, relies a little bit more on being a bit quieter, a bit more kind of mysterious, but not quite brooding,
Yeah.
I love Copperfield. He has done some incredible things for magic. And he is a nice guy if you stay on his good side, right? I'm not saying that he has an anger problem. I'm saying, if... he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he hung out with me for a little bit. Let's see, I've run into him a couple times. So I saw his show, and he chatted with us, took pictures with us after the show. And then he also did an unveiling for these stamps. They released these stamps. The United States Postal Service released these stamps that were magic themed, and each stamp represented a different facet of magic. And in magic, there's only 7 different tricks in magic. You can either make something appear, disappear, teleport, which is technically appearance and vanish at the same time, levitate, penetrate, or destroy and restore. There's a creation of life. Every trick boils down to one of 6 or 7 different things, right? So they had a stamp for each and every single one of these things, and this was unveiled at this big magic convention in Vegas called Magic Live. Huge. It's that and Genie are the 2 biggest magic conventions in the United States, and then Blackpool's the big one over in the UK. Anyways, so they did one of the general sessions, theater full of people, and they had to break it up into 2 groups because that's how many people were at this convention. And Copperfield comes out to kind of read a speech and unveil the stamps. And I met him in the green room because they needed someone to sing. They wanted to have a air team, a team of someone from a naval or an Air Force training base came, and they did a presentation of the colors essentially. And they brought out the flag and all in uniform, and they needed someone to sing the national anthem. Well, a guy who works for the convention was also working for Masters of Illusion, this Vegas show at the time. And they were like, "Hey, Nathan, you sing?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." They're like, "You know the national anthem?" "Yes, I do." It was like, "Great, we need someone to sing the national anthem for this thing." So it was really good branding, because it was like, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, from currently playing at Bally's Las Vegas 6 nights a week, Naathan Phan." And then I come out and sing the national anthem. But they did this unveiling of the stamps, and David Copperfield, and this just shows there are times when he phones it in on stage, but he's also been doing this for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
But there are also times when he goes above and beyond, and it would be very easy for someone like David Copperfield to walk out on stage and say, "The stamps, yada, 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 yada. Ladies and gentlemen, the stamps." And then they had these big, banners covering the stamps, and then like they got like whisked away to reveal. So it would be very easy for him to just like stamps. No, David Carver's like, ladies and gentlemen, these are your stamps. And he crosses the center stage, turns away from you and looks. So he does, and this is what he does.
a little performance.
Like that. But he's Copperfield, so it was cool, right? And he goes, this, and they go, zoop, and they whisk away. Like I said, very easy for someone to just go, the stamps. And he crosses, lets the moment land, dead silence, walks to the center stage, turns his back, turns away from the audience, bam, whoop. Amazing. And anyone who has that kind of devotion to the work or puts that kind of additional effort always has respect in my book. One of my mottos as a magician is ABE, always be extra. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of David Copperfield, wonderful person, and really, truly shaped. So many magicians would not be around were not for him because he inspired so many.
Yeah.
He's the thing that everyone always like claims to want to be, or the first thing they ask is like, so you're gonna be the next Copperfield? Like they always default to Copperfield when they think of magic, you know.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Legend and an icon. Yeah.
The bestie again came in. Another question: who's your favorite baseball team? Yeah. Do you have a favorite baseball team?
Sluggers. Is that a team? The bat wielders.
Just say the Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Happy Jenna.
I guess I would like the only reason I would say anything else is probably like I might say the Angels just because I like my parents' house is like 10 minutes from Angel Stadium, so like I spend a lot of time driving by that stadium. So to me, I just always say Angels, I guess, but I don't do sports. I don't follow the sports ball. I apologize.
Because your sports ball is invisible. You go like this, and it shows up.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah.
I mean, my default chant is, yeah, go sports. Get the thing to the place for the points.
What are sports? Oh, that's funny. I think this is from earlier. Rob saying Asparagus Valley Cultural Society. That must be from earlier.
Thank you, Asparagus Valley Cultural Society. I always forget.
Rob's always here picking stuff up. Everything that we drop.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Rob the Balloon Guy. That's his name, not a command. Is that the line? He's got this line. So Rob does amazing balloons and and also has some really funny bits and stuff like that. And one of his opening lines is he says, "Hi, I'm Rob the Balloon Guy. That's my name, not a command or not a
don't rob me."
Yeah, something like that.
My name's I'm Rob the Balloon Guy. Don't that's just my name. Don't actually rob me.
Yeah, something like that. And it's a good bit.
It is. Yo, during our game nights, that's all. We just keep making jokes about Rob being robbed. Who robbed Rob? Rob. But why did Rob 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 when Rob could have robbed Rob?
Blah 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 blah.
This is an interesting question or statement. Let's see. It's a long one. It's another FK question. I'm just gonna read it. I know maybe this shouldn't be something I should ask, but what's your opinion on David Blaine? Do you think he sold his soul? Because to me, he feels like dark. He feels like dark. Like his magic feels like it's on a whole another level, in my opinion.
Okay, there are no magicians who have sold their souls.
No.
If you sold your soul and all you got was magic tricks out of it, you got robbed.
You got robbed.
That is a terrible deal.
Not like robbed, but you actually got robbed.
Yeah, but you like that. No. That is a bad deal. No, there's. I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that there are no magicians who possess supernatural abilities. Anyone who claims to have supernatural ability, including psychics, are lying. They are all lying. Now, there may be things at play they're not aware about. They might be working off of like some kind of instinct, or their brain might be analyzing data that they're not aware that they're analyzing.
Yeah.
But there is no such thing as psychics. We literally had a $500,000 reward for several years offered by the wonderful skeptic James Randi from the Randi Foundation. For a while, it was because Houdini used to offer a $10,000 reward back in his day for anyone who could prove they were psychic. Then, starting back in like the 70s, James Randi Foundation offered, it was like $100,000, and then it went up to 200,000, and then at one occasion it was $500,000. $500,000 if you could prove you had any supernatural ability, not just like contacting the dead, but psychic, telepathy, mind reading, anything like that. And it was him and a small panel of scientists, and they'd watch you do your thing, and if they could debunk you, you didn't get the money. Guess what? No one ever got the money. And you could say, well, you know, what kind of psychic wants that kind of limelight? What kind of decent human being could get $500,000 free and not go and get it and then give it away, right? So nobody has sold their soul. Even there's a act that came out of Asia, I think Sacred Rihanna is the name, and she was on AGT for a while, and she's on Masters of Illusion this season, and she's got that ring, the Grudge, the ring girl look, where she's got hair in her face and very like pale makeup.
Yes.
And a lot of people think like that's evil stuff. Like, no, this is a trick. That's her character. That's her persona that she's picked. Now, part of the reason I think people think that about David Blaine is because some of his stuff boils down to an actual ability, like his ability to like regurgitate frogs, which is really, it's muscle control. What it is or discovering whether or not you have the right, you know, pouches in the stomach to do the things, right? It's their physical abilities, or him being able to put the pick through his finger. That's mind pick through his hand. That's mind over matter. That is practice. That is science. And it's way better to attribute these things to science and skill than it is to magic. You know, because like, oh, I'm a wizard. I was born with the ability to float feathers by saying Wingardium Leviosa. Yeah, there's practice involved, but I'm already born supernatural. As opposed to, I'm a human being who's born the same as you, and I can make this feather float.
Yeah,
I think that's way more impressive. So yeah, no, he just gives off kind of, he likes to be mysterious and brooding, like that's just his style and performance style, and he does do things that are graphic and in your face. Like I saw him live. Robert and I both performed at the Genie Convention a few years back, and our opening act was David Blaine. When I say that, what I mean is the panel right before our show, was a panel with David Blaine, and so we like to joke and say that David Blaine opened for us. And he did one of his things live where he literally pick a card, tear off a corner, hold on to the card. Oh no, sorry, sorry. There's more to this. He starts and he like brings someone's phone up and he starts recording a video. Like, can I record? Okay. And you know, you laugh because it's ducky face. And then he takes out a needle and thread and he sews his mouth shut. It's just, I think it was like 3 passes through the lips. And he keeps it nice and loose, and then he has someone pick a card. And what's great about this is now he has every excuse to not talk, right? They pick a card, tears off a corner, hands him the corner, takes the rest of the card, but he puts the card back inside the deck, springs him in the air, and then he lets you snip open the thread, and then fold it in his mouth is the card, and the corner that they're holding onto fits.
Yep.
Wonderful. Is it kind of disturbing and dark and graphic? Absolutely.
Yes. And
does that make some people uncomfortable? Absolutely, yes. But just because something makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean you can't understand it or enjoy it. So, David Blaine, I mean, he's got dedication is what he's got. And he's found his own niche in, I'm going to approach things from this physical side, which will then make the audience question whether or not this stuff that we know is magic, whether or not that's based on ability as well. And I think that's the wonderful game that it plays in your head from a psychological perspective.
Yeah. Which reminds me of your thing, which now that I think about it, because it is dark and involves blood, I might not be able to show it. I just realized that right now.
Oh, is there a thing about showing?
I think there is.
Blood?
I know. We have a clip that we put up and ready to show literally seconds before the countdown. And I just realized right now, because it is graphic, even though it's an illusion, it's not real. And there is blood. I might not be able to show it because we're on Twitch. So if anyone who knows Twitch rules, affiliate Twitch rules, can confirm that for me, please let me know, because I would like to show it. I can set it's already set up. I have to press a button. But that might be one of those Twitch rules where I might not be able to. So
that's fine. So basically, the video we're talking about. As I mentioned, me and my buddy Robert Ramirez, we created this 2-man act a long time ago, and we wrote this piece together that we're really, really proud of. Yeah. And it is graphic, but it also examines the darker aspect of human nature, and it is what the magic community refers to as a razor blade swallow, essentially, but dressed up and has some other stuff around it. And so it's a piece that I love performing because it is, to me, it's like one of the few things I've created that are art, because art requires like an extreme amount of self-expression. Yeah. And lots of the time magic, you're just like entertaining people, but you can express like core truths about your being or your psychology through magic, and this is one of the pieces for me. And so it's set to Mad World, and I enjoy performing it, but cruise ships can't do it on cruise ships, and I haven't done it in ages, so I decided to kind of film it like a music video or a short film. And so I recorded the music myself. Recorded the music myself and filmed it in my bathroom after growing out my facial hair for about 5 weeks. And I made a short film out of it. So that's actually going to be released tomorrow. I think at noon is when I'm releasing it. But we were going to give you guys a preview of it. But if we're not,
how long is the preview?
Preview's like less than a minute.
Less than a minute. All right. Maybe we'll save it for the end. If someone wants to double check what we can do, because if you guys can confirm it, we'll show it at the end. I have the little preview he has ready. He's going to release this tomorrow, like he said. So I would like to show it. I just realized I don't want to hurt my...
I don't want to get you in trouble. Yeah, it's it's about a minute.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So that'll be released on my YouTube channel, which of course is youtube.com/magicasianman.
Gotcha. Rob said check. Rob, I can't because I'm streaming this on Discord. So if I switch it, the whole screen's going to switch. So I can't. So if you want to text me, please do. Cool. And then we'll keep talking about that. I'm gonna go. We're gonna continue talking about that subject, because I would like to show it. Why is my room getting all dark? Oh, probably because all the lights in my room are off. So yeah. So we'll continue talking about it. I would love to show it. I just want to make sure that as a new streamer, we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, but I might be completely fine. So we'll find out in a minute. Yeah. Because Rob's pretty good. And Rob said check Discord. I can't check Discord right now.
Are there any other questions that we didn't get to?
Yeah, there's more.
In the meantime, yeah. Cycle back to this.
It's not extreme gore, is it?
Video. No, I don't think so. No, it's like a tiny bit of blood.
Okay. Yeah.
Like extreme gore, I consider to be like showing viscera and like intestines and stuff, and this is just like a little, tiny bit of blood.
Thank you to Janine and Rob. They said it looks like if it's not extreme gore, it's okay. Something about self-destructive. Yeah, we don't want to do a self-destructive behavior. So, you've seen it. I haven't seen it. Is it self-destructive?
A little bit. It's not super. Oh God, that's tough to say. Is it technically self-destructive? Yes, but it's also like it's simulated. So I don't know whether or not that changes anything because it's simulated. The content warning I have on it is it's involves blood and self-harm, but it's simulated. So it's stage blood and simulated self-harm. No one's actually harmed in the making of the video. If we can't show it, we can't show it. It's fine. You guys will just have to wait till tomorrow to see it. But yeah, I'll put it up on my Facebook page as well as it'll go up on my YouTube.
Gotcha.
You're still looking up the rules?
That's right. People are texting me, so I'm reading the texts.
Yeah.
So for Rob and Janine who are helping me figure this out, as you can hear what he's saying about it, I think Nay has seen it when he did it live, so it's a variation on that. But it's there is razor blades. They end up in the mouth. It's a magic trick. It's not real, and it's art. So.
Not real. I definitely put a real razor blade in my mouth.
No exceptions for gags or stunts. Would it be a gag or a stunt? Probably, huh? No, not a gag.
For me, it's artistic expression of something. So, because it's scripted and it's filmed, and
it involves razor blades, not needles. Hello, Kitty. Yeah. Oh, and they sent me something else. Thank you, Rob, for doing this.
Thank you.
We do not make exceptions for self-destructive behavior performed as a stunt or gag made in jest or meant to entertain, when the behavior could be reasonably be expected to cause physical injury.
Gotcha. Maybe not then.
Yeah, that's it's an art. It's art. I want to show you it, but we probably can't. Context this changing. Yeah, and we're saying this isn't real. But you know how people like to.
That's fine. It's all right. Yeah, no worries. Check it out tomorrow when it comes out. Mad World, ladies and gentlemen.
And we'll post it on our Second Reality socials and all of that funness. If you guys and if we change our mind, maybe we'll still show it at the end. But because it's not real. Maybe. But we'll see. We're not gonna. I don't like closing doors to any possibility of anything ever.
I don't want to close the door on this, but
I don't want to close the door, but we're probably not going to do it. But we might do it.
maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it'll surprise you. I don't know. Yeah. I'm the believer. Even with magic, I'm the believer that you can do something.
Feeling cute. Might post a video later.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling cute. You don't know. Yeah, your focus just went off. Backing up a little bit. Again, thank you, Rob and Janine, for that.
Thank you.
So Jenna again had a question a while ago. When's the next episode of Up? She put Up and Smoke. It's Up in Smoke. That's that weird question where I would still like to sell it, but the connections I have to it, which is a big agency, they it's really about who you know, and I know a lot of people, but those people don't necessarily everybody has an ego in Hollywood, let's say that. So it gets very complicated. So I had some people look at it, which is good. I had a friend who showed it to a network, and they wanted to talk, but then I never heard anything back, which is a whole other story, which you don't even know about that one. I put on my other monitor over here. Yeah, what I made, I love. I think it would work even to today's standards. I think it's crazy and chaotic and fun. I hope that I would be able to make it in the future. That would be a goal of mine. I don't know if I can make it continuing that episode. Because that episode was very little money, a lot of talented people. I don't know if I can get all those people back, to be honest. So
I don't think you could get. There's one in particular that would be difficult to get back yet.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't seen it, anybody here who's ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, the FX show, there's is it Guillermo? Is that the character's name?
Guillermo de la Cruz.
He's like Guillermo de la Cruz, who is the familiar to the main guy.
Yeah.
That's our buddy Harvey.
Yeah.
And so we get, and like every once in a while I'll see him pop up and stuff, and it's crazy. But it's even wilder now that he's like a regular on this TV series.
And he just got nominated.
But he was, huh?
Yeah, his show got nominated for an Emmy.
Oh my God, son of a gun! Lucky him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not just lucky, talented.
He's talented. He's very talented.
Yeah, but he was like one of the lead characters in this, so it'd be really difficult to get him again.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to shoot it again, I would love to be a little involved in that process as well.
Yeah. It would
as
be...
you know, I trained as a writer for 4 years, and like
Yeah.
my major was like screenwriting, so
Yeah.
I'd love to like be a part of the creative process. And yeah, I would definitely. There are a few things. I mean, even just like a crew change would be great.
Yeah,
because
I think
the guy who filmed it was like the quality just turned out kind of weird, different than I was expecting.
Yeah, we were bare bones is an understatement to what this production
like guerrilla
was.
Filmmaking.
This was like guerrilla filmmaking times 1,000, and
but still not like poor conditions. Like we were
No.
still like taken care of, and
Yeah.
there was food and stuff. Like wasn't there?
We-
Like,
yeah, oh yeah, there was food every day. We made.
Yeah.
I made
Like,
sure that no matter what, because all my actors were, I knew all my actors. They were all my friends, and I made sure. I also wasn't like, you're my friend, be my thing. I went, who fits this part?
Yeah.
And if you fit this part, would you? I know it's weird to ask, but would you audition? And I think everybody did. Even Harvey did. He sent me an audition tape.
I auditioned.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything spiteful or me having an ego. It was, I know you're talented, but I need to know that you fit this puzzle piece, and that's all it is, you know. And it's weird because from an actor, and me doing a shit ton of other shorts in the past, usually I'm like, hey, would you be my thing? This one was different because now, even though there was a little budget, there was a budget, and there were stakes. So then you have to go, all right, I have to treat this completely different, a little more professional. I'm still going to go to my friends because we don't have a budget to go call some agents, even though we did. We did. Oh, thanks, Rob. Rob put your Patreon on the chat. We had to just do it from a different perspective. So we did, and everybody that I wanted, Nathan fit a part perfectly. So I'm like, hey, would you audition to this? He did. Harvey at that point was still a working actor. He just did a TV show on what network was it? It was about the camp with Nikki Blonsky is her name.
Is it called something like Fat Camp or
It
something?
wasn't
like
called
that?
Fat Camp, but it was like
something like that.
it was it was about an overweight camp, but it wasn't called that.
Yes.
It was called I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was on like
Yeah.
one of those family networks. I think they've renamed it. It's one of those
Oh, it was like
ABC Family or something.
It was ABC Family, but it had recently been rebranded
Yeah.
as like
Something.
Seed, CW, something. It was something like that. Like
Yeah.
it got rebranded, and it was like a. Yeah.
So he was off that. He was just in that movie with Owen Wilson and stuff. So he was working, and
Oh yeah, it was the Google internship movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
might
and now
be
it's
called the
Freeform. The network is Freeform. Thank you.
Freeform. That's what it is.
Freeform. Yeah. And so he was doing all this stuff, and I knew him from college, but I didn't talk to him often. So I'm like, I hit him up. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to do something. Would you just like do a cameo? And true story, he went, do you have a bigger part? And I was like, in my head, I was like, dude, you're already booking big things, even if nothing has hit. Like, and at that point, I kind of already had a good idea of who my leads were. I wasn't thinking about him because I'm like, I'm not gonna get him. And he was like, I would like something meatier. And I was like,
If I'm gonna do it, I might as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what I learned from this process is everybody told me don't make the episode, make the pilot. And I'm the sense of I'm gonna spend X amount of money on this day to make these scenes for a trailer. Why not, instead of being there for an hour, be there 3 hours and it'll cost me the exact same and I shoot everything. That was my point. So I'm like, I might as well. Because at the end of the day, if it fails, I have a half hour to an hour episode of something to show. Even if it ends up horribly bad, I made this thing. I didn't make a, hey, look at this. I made it. You know? So, I did. I'm making sure nothing important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a lot of fun, and yeah. If something ever happened with it, like I'd totally be down to
and
come back to the project.
You will come back. I honestly think it still would work. It's like I liked how when I wrote it, I knew I wanted 2 shows. I wanted Big Bang Theory, which is funny. People already were like, this is like Big Bang Theory. People got the shows I was kind of mimicking. One was Big Bang Theory because I wanted that unity. I wanted those underdogs, and I wanted them all to want things they couldn't have because society or the world was against them. And then we hold on a second. I got distracted. Mal, I'll play the secretary. Mallory, is that you? What up? I'm sorry. I just see it in the chat. It says Mal 17. It says I'll play the secretary again. I'm gonna talk about you in a second, Mallory. All right, let me keep going. I wanted a story about that. It was an underdog story. That's what I wanted. I wanted this world to hate them. You know, because I've seen people hate magicians. Like I've seen it. They're like, and like earlier, if you've been here for most of the stream, you saw how Nathan was talking about how people will go, no, I don't like magic. And then you're like, okay, and you walk away.
Okay.
All of that was a big reason why I made Up in Smoke. Up in Smoke to me was people have a negative belief and thought and everything about magic, right? And so I'm like, why don't I just make the society hate them, right? It's like people, these group of nerds, we'll call them nerds, all love this thing with a passion.
So much.
With a passion that... And they're not breaking any laws. They're just like, this is what I'm going after. Yet everywhere they go, the people hate them.
Magic.
Right? And it's constantly...
Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And
magic.
Ew, anything but magic.
Ew.
Yeah. And then you have the competitive, different type of magicians. The stage the stage magician, the close-up, all of them. You have all of them who are also fighting each other because they feel like I'm better than you. Right? For whatever reason. So, you go, well...
Magicians who think they're better than each other?
Yeah.
That would never exist in the real world.
In a world where already people dislike you. So, I thought that simple connotation was interesting to me. So, it was Big Bang Theory, and it was, oh my god, I'm blanking out. Philadelphia. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Because it's always
gotcha.
It's again, that to me was the dysfunction. Mm-hmm. The other side of the coin for the group. It was the dysfunctional group who all had bad ideas, maybe not necessarily the best intentions,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they always tried. And at the end, it would flip back to Big Bang Theory, where they were a unit and they were together.
Yeah.
So I knew that pulling off the pilot was the hardest part. I still think it is, because every idea we had, and we had a Bible. We had 4 to 5 episodes that gave the whole first season an arc. Then we had and then I wrote the outline for, I think, more seasons, and where they would go. But my first season, how it went, and how it started from one point to the end, shit, like, I was so excited and hoping that I would just get a meeting with these people that all looked at it and wanted more, that I could have given this arc. Because just like any movie or anything, you have to start with, how did you meet? Why are you here? How is your dynamic? What's going on? And a lot went on in this pilot. A lot. The first cut was 48 minutes for a 30-minute for a 30-minute show. And so we went from a 45 to an hour show, which, like, how? Cut. Got it close to 30, and I'm like, no, we have to get it closer to 22. If, we did. And then for some reason, I was never really happy with 32-minute. And I had that 32-minute cut on me for years. Because I was like, you need to have a 32. The reason why you have 32 is on TV shows, on networks, you give 8 minutes for commercials. So you need for a half-hour show, you need 8 minutes of commercials.
Oh, yeah. So it's 22.
So it's 22. And so, and I always knew, I'm like, something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And 3 years ago, 2017, I went back and looked at it and went, what is wrong with this? And I realized why. Us cutting out the air of it to hit 22 took out its breath. And for anything, you need to have its breath. So I went back, put stuff back in, and now it's the version I have from 2017. We shot this 2012. Had the first...
Wow, was it that long ago?
It was
Jeez
2012, Louise. Yeah. No, it was 2013. It was 2013.
Okay.
We shot in 2013. I was writing it in 2012. We shot in 2013. I had my first real version roughly around 2014. We had a rough cut, and then I chop and chop. But 2017 is when I went back to it, because I know how much I love the idea, and I'm still committed to it, even if I can't be in it myself. And I re-chopped it in just extended sections, and it flows better. Way better than the 22-minute one did. It's still chaotic. Now, with the stuff I know as a filmmaker, it would flow 10 times better. But you have to make stuff to learn, So I still like it. I still hope that in the future I can, my dream would be like, let's continue it. And be like, but even if we continue it, the pilot would have to get reshot anyways. It would just have to. So I knew that this wasn't going to be a pilot that would go straight to network and we would move forward. I knew that this would be
like a proof of concept.
A proof of concept thing that people would see. And if they liked it and someone bought it or wanted it, we can go, can we keep these people? And then add more people to the crew. Yeah. And then make an artistically beautiful piece of entertainment, where the project that I have now isn't necessarily about it looking beautiful. It's about it just being fun and having moments. Yeah. It's not about how every image isn't perfect. You know what I mean? Right. Obviously, I try to do it, but when you have constraints, everybody's working for free, and then there's a few exceptions where you have to. It's just So, and then Mallory, who is in the chat. I don't know how long you've been here, Mallory. What's up, Mallory? The beautiful Mallory Felt. She was recommended by one of my friends, one of my actors. And they were like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I already cast most of it. So I had to go back and look, and I'm like, I have these parts. And I'm like, hey, would you do this? And she was like, yeah. And she killed it. Little part, and that killed it, right? Stone cold face, because that's what I wanted. And because of that, now I'm going off magic for a second. Off of that, I made another movie 2 years ago, a short film called Chapter 32. Asked her to be in it, be the lead. She did, and that movie won an award. So, that was the first movie I've made that I won an award, because I rarely ever put stuff in festivals. Like, I do, but I submit it to, like, the big ones, because I'm cocky, and I'm like, you go for the top or you don't. Festivals are expensive.
Go big or go home, baby.
Go big, go home. And I honestly thought that movie almost went into a big festival, which I probably shouldn't name, because we didn't hear... There's one big festival we put Chapter 32 in, and it we were not getting our rejection email. and this is an international festival, so I'm like waiting for. And I submitted 2 films. The film that I submitted second got a rejection. The one I submitted that Mallory was in was not getting a rejection email. So we were a week till the official announcement of who got into this big festival. And the week of the announcement, I got the rejection email. And I was like, how? Either they forgot to say no to me, or we were that close to this big festival. And again, this is another movie that costs nothing. Costs less than Up in Smoke. But it's also a 5-minute movie. Chapter 32. You can look it up on YouTube. It's going to be on the channel. It's on my channel, YouTube. Mallory's in it. She's fucking great. 2 actors. I'm in it, but you don't see my face. That's intentional. Yeah, we won an award. It's fucking great. And she's going to be in more of my stuff. So go check it out. Thanks, Nay. There's the link right there. But yeah, so Up in Smoke, I guess the short answer is if I can bring it back in the future, that's my goal. My production crew has been evolving and changing, and you know how friendships happen. People come, people go. It just is life. So I hope that if I don't get it sold or find more people that I could pitch it and show this project to, I will maybe make a web series or something and start it again. And I know it'll be better, but it'll be different.
Do little tiny installments, yeah.
Yeah, but I would just shoot the whole thing knowing that they're tiny installments,
right,
and then release them piece by piece. Because I'm like, if I can plan X amount, I can do it. And I could technically do that with Up in Smoke. Up in Smoke is on my YouTube. I was having it. It was a SAG project. I think it's the only SAG project I've made.
Yeah, 'cause I was SAG, so I knew how to.
And I was SAG.
I remember signing something.
Yeah, but that whole project was SAG. That contract doesn't exist anymore in SAG, so I don't know how I would be able to make that again in today's standards with the budgets that we have, because we're very small. Second Reality is really small. But, yeah, I want to release it on YouTube. I tried to, but then all the music I have, I think is great. S.A. Bach is one of my friends who pretty much gave me permission to use all his music. But then we have issues putting it up because YouTube was like, you don't own this. And I'm like, well, I have permission. And they're like, and then I'm pretty sure there's a whole other ramification for someone getting paid when I'm not getting paid, because if I make money, then I have to give my actor money, which I'm totally fine with. But under YouTube, I wouldn't be making anything. So how am I going to pay people when I'm not making anything? So that's the only reason it's not on YouTube. But if there's a way, I will release it. And if anybody wants to see it, message me and I'll send you the link. But
I think Vimeo. I think you might be able to put it up on Vimeo.
Yeah, I just can't put it.
What the rules are.
I can't put it private. I can't make it public. That's what it is on YouTube.
Gotcha.
It's because it's on YouTube. I have the link. I can send it to whoever. I just cannot put it publicly without them monetizing the music, which might cause a problem with the union. You know, so that's the reason it has not been publicly released. But if you guys want to see it, let me know. So yeah, Up in Smoke. It's not dead. I want to make it again. We will in the future. Hopefully, I won't be too old for it. And I want it to be a story. Like most of my stuff, I feel like most projects are people in their 20s. And as I get older, I realize there's not a lot of stories of people in their 30s or their 40s. Like they exist, but not really.
I think 40s exist because 40s like midlife crisis age.
Yeah.
Like 20s is fresh out of college. 30s is nobody cares about 30-year-olds, and then 40 like now you're like a real adult dealing with problems in marriage and kids and stuff. But 30s is just like this decade of just like wasted time and wistfulness, and like it's like pining for your 20s and dreading your 40s is like all the 30s are.
Yeah. So, and I think that's what Up in Smoke would be interesting if they're just all in their 30s, you know.
Sure.
But we will see. To be honest, I'm not worrying about that now. I'm working on another feature, but that's a whole other story, a whole other conversation that has nothing to do with magic. But yes, so Mallory Felt is amazing, and that's the Up in Smoke story from the source. Let me back up to see if I missed any.
While you're looking at questions, I've been drinking so much water, I need to run to the loo again. I'll be right back.
Go run to the loo.
Right back.
So I hope how you guys are doing. I know we've been here streaming for 2 hours and 2 hours and 14 minutes. Wow, who's been here the whole time? That's my question. I'm just looking at stuff. Oh, Rob, Wizard World, text me. Don't have to wait till tomorrow. Oh, so I guess according to Jessica, thank you Jessica for that. If you want to see his stuff, supposedly it's on Nathan's Patreon. So go to his Patreon. I would love to do Up in Smoking. Like I said, after my move, my feature is my next project. My big feature that will... For those who were involved with Up in Smoke, you know the toll that it took on me. Both in the best way and in the emotional way of kind of throwing everything at something and calling in all my favors. So I have a lot of love for Up in Smoke. Up in Smoke is like my child that I want to work. Even if I have to change the name, it'll still be the same. But I want to bring back a show about magicians. I think we have shows with magicians, but not a show about magicians, you know? And I think that is like a true underdog story, and that's why I think it's interesting. So I hope that I can bring it back one way or the other. Mal, you will not play the secretary again. You'll play something else. So know that. You will not be a secretary.
I don't want to play the secretary, Herb.
You'll play the secretary. Mallory will not. What we do in the shadows reminds me of Up in Smoke because it's so silly and over the top. Yeah, Up in Smoke was silly and over the top. Really was.
I thought it was a drama. I was like going all method for it. I guess it was unnecessary. Whatever.
JoBeth says me. Me what, JoBeth? I'm gonna. My plan is this video. I'll probably copy it and maybe edit some pieces out and put it on YouTube. So people watching it on YouTube are gonna be like, "The hell are they talking to?" It's a chat room. There's a chat room because this is live. As long as we get to work together again, I'll do whatever. Cool, Mal. Because you say that now, and then every like few months, hey Mal, I have a thing. I need you to show up tomorrow. You'll be like,
No. Don't want.
Bring your husband. Bring your husband. I need him to do stuff too. Oh, JoBeth, have you been here for the whole thing? Because if you do, love, thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah. So I appreciate you, JoBeth. Thank you for being here the whole time during our random talks about magic. Like I said, we didn't plan anything. I told Nathan straight up, I'm like, I'm not gonna plan questions. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is an interview, because I don't want this to be an interview. I'm not an interviewer. For people who know me, that's not who I am. I'm just kind of a person where I'm like, hey, it'd be fun if you put us both in the room together and we just start talking about stories and shit. Yeah. You know, so that was the plan. From a person who used to do magic a lot, I do it a lot less just because I've been focusing on the films and stuff. Nathan does it 100%. That's his life. So anytime I'm like, I have an idea, I always go to Nathan or I go to Robert because I just like their opinion. I respect it. I have a question for Nathan about cardistry. Can you show us any flourishes? A flourish? That's a flourish. That's a flourish. And then...
So I don't have problems with people who So in the magic world, there's something called cardistry, which is basically the art of just being really flourishy and fancy with a packet of cards. I personally don't have a lot of use for that in my act. It doesn't really fit into my act. I do know a few moves just so that when people are like, well, what do you know, like, I can do a few moves, right? So usually if you ever see cardistry, it's like cuts with like 13 million different
things. They're all like this?
For me.
They're all like this?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like spreading the yeah, all that kind of stuff. So
like,
the fanciest cut that I know is this. There it is. That's the fanciest flourishiest thing I know. And then there's like basic stuff like being able to fan out the cards, close them, cut the cards with one hand.
Yeah,
yeah. There's the good old Charlier. Oh, let me see. It's not focused.
And then there's the other cut.
And then there's the Revolution cut, which is here.
That's what it's called, the Revolution cut. I was like, what is it? Yeah. Magic of cards.
I know a little bit, but not a ton. I used to be way better with card tricks, and I'm still decent. Like I still have a decent. I know a couple of moves that are still good and useful. That's the other thing for me. For me, it's more about usefulness over visual appearance.
Yeah.
And like now, if the point of the move is that it's supposed to be visually very, very beautiful, like if I'm trying to, I do a routine where I have the audience just to kind of like show the different types of magic. I talk about prop-based magic and I talk about sleight of hand magic, and then I do like for prop-based magic. I just did a show earlier today, so I still have all my stuff here. Like this is a prop, like it looks like a bunch of playing cards, but it's actually a top hat. That is a prop-based magic trick. There's no skill in that. Someone built the thing, and then I bought it for $175, and that's all that does, right? As opposed to, and then I talk about skill stuff, and then I show them like how I warm up my hands before a show, and then I intentionally do some flourishy things because now we're working our way into skill to show like, and all this stuff here is skill. So it's like the purposes are contrasting between prop-based and skill-based.
I love that it just turned into a hat. That's what I love about magic, when people are like, yeah, this is just fake. And you're like, yeah, but in reality, it's something else. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're a magician or not. You know it's going to change into something. What it's going to change into is a whole other story. And when that shit happens, I laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something I did not expect.
Yeah. Like the top hat.
Yeah, look, this is fake. All right, cool. A lot of times, a lot of times people go, hey, yeah, this is obviously it just looks like a deck of cards, and they just throw it down because you're like, yeah, there's literally no reason for it, and they're like, but a goose, and you're just like, what? Why is it a goose? And they're like, just playing poop. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What? It turned into a goose into poop.
Transformers, magic in disguise.
It's just so
magic
funny,
tricks
man.
roll out. Like that's just. Yep. So that's what. So I do. Yeah, that's part of my stage show. I do that, and then transitions into intense sleight of hand stuff. So yeah. So I know like a few moves, and then that's it. And then like the other things I know that are show offy for magicians. Like this will mean nothing to anyone who isn't a magician, but I also can't reveal what I'm actually doing because that would ruin things. Here's one way to do a move. In Magic, this is referred to, I can't say what the move is, but that is a move, DL. Like we'll call it a DL, right?
Yeah.
Or, that was a TL, I think. And that's one way of doing a very specific thing. However, there's also this really, really unnecessarily complicated way of doing it. And it's the exact same move, but now we've just added this one-handed element.
For no reason.
For no reason whatsoever.
Like they're like, oh, this helps you sell something. It's like, no, it does not.
No.
It's I think that's for the people who've known me and the people who have seen me do magic. I am very particular with magic on what I add to my pot. My pot, obviously my pot is nowhere near what Nathan's pot is, but my pot is also very specific.
My pot's awesome.
His pot is awesome. My pot is very specific on things that I feel aren't 10 times complicated without it giving me giving me the equivalent payoff. As in, when I say payoff,
sure.
I mean me learning a skill that by the time I'm done using it and I present to you what the final product is, not from the magician, but as a guest or an audience member, your reaction or your takeaway should be as equal to the amount of work I have to get there. And I know
that's formula. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that for a lot of people it's like, I'll do all this to sell this and sell this idea and plant things in your brain, and I'm like, yeah, I respect any magician's way they do anything. I everybody. But
exactly,
for me,
exactly.
I have to go.
I have a similar rule.
Yeah. What's your rule?
I have a similar rule when it comes to stage magic, which is basically, if the effect takes longer than 2 or 3 times longer to set up than it does to perform, it's not in the act. Like if this is a 3-minute bit and it takes me like I know magicians because I toured with these big magicians, and it's like, here is an appearing helicopter, and it's great. It's literally 2 minutes of stage time. The thing takes like 3 hours to set up because it's an appearing goddamn helicopter.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to assemble the helicopter and the thing that it appears from and all this stuff. And so to me, that is not worth it. Unless someone was like, we will pay you $10,000 to make a helicopter appear. Then I'd be like, I'll think about it. But also, that helicopter already costs like $60,000.
Yeah.
So, maybe not. But yeah, so basically, if it's a 3-minute routine and it takes me longer than 10 minutes to set up, it's not that I have anything against it. It's just that it probably won't become what I consider a worker. In the magic community, we have things that we consider workers. And this is like something that I use all the time, and it's bulletproof, it's solid, I enjoy it, that kind of thing. And so for me, if it takes over 2 or 3 times to set up than it does to perform it, probably won't become a worker unless it's something very specific.
Yeah.
That I'm like, this is the only piece that will get this message across to my audience or show off this aspect of my life. There is, no, that routine takes a while to set up, but at least it still has it plays for like 15 minutes. I have this one routine that I do. I don't get to do it often. In Magic, we have a thing called confabulation, and basically it's a thing you've ever seen a magician. They ask you for several pieces of information. It's like, name a destination, name a type of cuisine, name a celebrity. And at the end, there's like, oh, I have a page from my journal that's been sitting out the whole time, like some BS, right? And then they read it, and then you hand it to a spectator. They read the page, and printed, written on the thing are the pieces of information that the audience said. All right, and that's called a confabulation style routine. Most of them are very boring and make no sense. I'm not here to, like I say, cast aspersions on my fellow magicians, but I like it when things make sense. And also I like it when magicians don't lie. This sounds really weird, but in my show, I try to keep my lies to a minimum. Like there's maybe in my entire hour-long show, I think I tell a total of like 4 lies. I don't tell a lot of lies, because that prevents the audience from getting a chance to know you, and it promotes the possibility for a sense of insincerity, which I don't want to get across the audience. But so in this act, so I decided to come up with my own version of confabulation, but have it make sense. And something that I genuinely do is I write screenplays. And so I was like, let's start with this basis of screenplays. Cool. And now from that starting point, I say, oh, I have a rejection letter that I received for a screenplay I submitted, but I'll read that to you in a moment. First, I need your help. Every time a screenplay I write gets rejected, it's because it's a movie that people wouldn't want to see. So let's come up with an idea for a movie that you folks would want to see, right? And then I have an idea. And so I ask them, okay, so let's pick a genre. So I have all these genres up here. Let's pick a name for the movie. Let's pick a tagline. Let's pick a release date. And that way it'll say, okay, that means I need to have it written by X amount of days before this is released so that I have a timeline for pre-production, that kind of thing. And then also let's pick a celebrity, right? And so we do this, and we come up with this idea. So, for instance, I have it up on the wall. I think it would be tough to bring it down. Let me see if I can bring it down easily. So let's say, for instance, I don't think that's going to come down. That's fine. So I know I have a cool poster, unfortunately, but it's stuck up there. So in this case, you have something like. Let's pick it's going to be a sci-fi movie, and then, I'll usually have someone pick a letter, we'll pick a word off of that, and we name it A Matter of Time. And it's like, okay, so what's the catchphrase going to be? People shout out things, and eventually we pick something. So be sure to look before you quantum leap. When are we going to release it? Oh, let's do August 20th. Great, that sounds great. And then we need an actress, Jennifer Lawrence. Great. And so then, all that happens. And then I say, thank you, I'm going to start writing this movie, but in the meantime, let's take a look at this rejection letter from Hollywood. So it's been sitting out the whole time. I open it up, and I read it, and I'm like, oh, there's an extra piece of paper in it. Don't know what that is. And I read the letter, and the letter just says, and it's always this page's entry is always like written in handwriting, which to me just screams like any rational human being would be like, all right, somebody wrote that and somehow snuck it in there, right? Because writing takes a very short period of time. Yeah. But this is a printed letter, and then I say, so we're rejecting the screenplay. However, we know you're an actor as well, and we'd love to have you be a part of the audition for this new project. We had our art department mock up some artwork for this to see if you'd be interested. And I reach in there, and I pull out a fully printed 11 by 17 poster that has all of this information. And so I really wish you guys could see this, but it's like complicated to bring it down.
No worries.
But yeah, so it's like a fully printed poster that's been folded up, and it's been like locked in a box that the audience can see into the whole time. And so now it's a confabulation routine, but now it's like fully printed. We're not talking about someone writing stuff down, like printed poster that I get to let them keep. And so like for me, that requires a lot of setup, but I also get like 15 minutes out of it. So even if it takes me 45 minutes to set up, that's worth it to me because I get 15 minutes and it's this truly impossible thing, and it gives me a chance to talk about my writing and my inspirations and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. And it's a fun journey to take with the audience. And especially at the end, to let them keep it. And then after the show, you get to sign it and they get to take home these ridiculous posters. So there's a few posters circulating the world that have like, it's like Photoshop pictures of me with like Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Benedict Cumberbatch or just like ridiculous random celebrities. And, they have these great posters that, are like truly one of a kind because it just happens in the show.
That's funny.
But yeah. I wish I could bring that on cruise ships, but that is a lot of setup.
For a cruise ship, we have to perform multiple times a day.
Yeah. Luckily, cruise ships isn't that bad. You have 1 or 2 show days per week or per cruise, so it just depends. And then you do on show days. You do 2 shows. You do an early show and a late show. So like a 7 and a 9 or something like that, or 7:30, 9:30. And it's mostly based around because people have to like make the food is free, and you have the option of going to the buffet or going to the restaurant. And in the restaurant, you still have to call to like make dinner reservations. So you're banking on catching people. Whether the 7 o'clock show is designed for people who are going to either eat dinner much earlier or much later, and 9 o'clock is designed for people who eat dinner around 7, and then that way you can catch them in the late crowd.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's I love performing cruise ships. I'm having dreams. I didn't think this would happen, but like every month I have a dream about being on a cruise ship.
Really?
And sometimes, yeah, and it's sometimes it's about like innocuous stuff like me checking in to my room, and sometimes it's just a dream. I literally had a dream a few months ago about me chatting with people after the show, talking about being a cruise ship magician, which is something that would happen to me all the time, right? But I'm literally having a dream about talking to people on a cruise about being a cruise ship magician, which is just like such a weird, mundane thing to dream about.
Yeah.
But there it is.
Hey. And you did it for how long did you do it? You did it for like...
I did it for... I started in April of last year, and then I got kicked off in March. I was supposed to be on cruise ships through mid-June. Like, I had contracts lined up through mid-June. But I was literally on a ship, like, when the pandemic was being announced. Like, March 13th, which is, like, the day it became an official pandemic. I was on a ship that day. And I had 2 shows. And so I had been hearing rumors that the next week, because we had gone from like, oh yeah, next week there's going to be about 1,800 people on a 2,000 capacity ship. All right, that's pretty full. And then it was like, yeah, the next day it dropped down to 1,500. Next day it dropped down. And then from one day it went from like 1,100 to 700 people in one day. Wow. And we were like, this next week may not happen. And then a friend of mine who was Jimmy Kimmel's, her name is Jill Kimmel, wonderful comedian, and she's Jimmy Kimmel's brother. And so she was supposed to be joining me like the next day, and like we had hung out on another cruise ship. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And then she's like, my agent told me it's canceled. And I'm like, it's not that I don't believe her agent, but someone has yet to tell me that next week is canceled.
Yeah.
And so it's like a Saturday night. And so I'm getting ready to do my final show, and the production manager walks in and is like, you hear about next week? I'm like, no. And they're like, next week's canceled. And the next day is the San Diego port, which is like the home port. So they're like, so pack up your stuff and tomorrow you leave in San Diego. So I did my final show, packed up my stuff. Well, I packed up my show, took it to my room, went to the crew bar, got plastered with everyone because everyone's like, we're all done. Because some people get to leave, some people have to stay on the ship. And then some people aren't Americans. And it's just like, it's complicated. Like I had friends who were, even after the cruise ships shut down, like they didn't come home till June. Like, they were just floating in these cruise ships because of rules and laws and stuff. I don't know what the rules are, but apparently some of them had to be on cruise ships with no passengers for like 3 months. It was wild.
Oh, yeah. I know someone like that, too, where they posted it all on social media about how they were on a cruise ship losing their mind because the boats became quarantine locations. So,
yep. Sometimes, absolutely. So March 13th, and then I drunkenly packed up my things, and I got like 2 hours of sleep, and the next day I stumbled off the ship, March 14th, in San Diego. Someone luckily was able to come and pick me up. We were just supposed to like hang out. I had some friends who live in Orange County, and they were like, oh yeah, let's just hang out. And so luckily they're going to come see me anyways. And I was like, can you actually make that a ride home instead?
So it worked out then, huh?
It worked out, luckily. And also, so I had 5 upcoming contracts that got canceled, but luckily, because some of them were within a certain time period, like anything within 3 weeks or something, they'll still pay you out for if it gets canceled because it's not your fault.
Yeah.
So I got paid for like 3 out of those 5 contracts.
Nice.
So I was in like it was nice. Like I'd much rather actually do the work.
Yeah.
But all things considered, money for nothing was nice.
Cool. Do you have it? Do you want to do something? Do you have anything? Maybe we can do something with some, if there's anyone in the chat. I know I'm almost kind of putting you in the spot because I'm like, we should do some magic. We've been talking for 2.5 hours and we haven't.
Hold on.
All we did was one of these.
Yeah, I know. Stall for a second. I have a brand new trick actually that is like, it's like an old trick, but I'm like thinking about releasing it actually. So hold on a second.
Rob said 3 of diamonds. 3 of diamonds. Freaking Rob. Here, this is for, I don't know who's watching. I'm gonna do this. So everybody can see. I don't know if you guys, it's hard to do this at an angle. while we wait. Rob said what? 3 of diamonds. This is a 4 of spades. If I can just do this right, I can shake it. And then... Oh, the light's hitting it hard. Oh, wow. That's a 3 of diamond, but the light is... There you go. That's how you know there's too much light in my room. 3 of diamonds. Huh? Rob? Huh? Huh? 3 of... diamond. Alright, that's just me fucking around. Because I like to mess around. If a card ends up in your shoe, Joe Beth, look in your shoe.
Okay.
Go look in your shoe.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, while you do that... Yeah, and when you do that, I'm going to turn my light on really quick. My other light. Because my room is... Oh, that's better. I just felt like it was getting darker and darker.
Hold on 1 second.
No!
I'm trying. Yes, hold on a second.
Oh, you good, dude. Don't worry. 3 diamonds. Javeth, if there's a card on your shoe.
Okay.
So, while he's prepping that, I'll tell you guys stories. I've I've had people. When I used to do this often, I used to have people get mad at me, not want to see magic, and they come up to me, and usually it'd be drunk women. I've also had drunk men do this, and go do something. You can't do magic. Do something. And I've had the fortunate opportunity to freak people out. Not like, oh, I saw a magic trick. To think I was a witch. And it was because someone was like, oh, put in my shoe. I'm like, open your shoe. Give me your shoe. And they're like, here. I'm like, is this your card? And I've gotten I've gotten cards out of people's shoes. I've gotten cards in the top clock at restaurants when there's just like a clock and the card's up there and it's still their card. I've had it when they're like, I've done it where it ended up in their car. I didn't even get close to their car. It ended up in their purse. I had a girl once, after I got in her car, and we were parked nearby, and I didn't step foot in her car. She stood up out of the car and started laughing and then crying. And she's like, I love you. I hate you. Marry me. No, because you would make it crazy. And this was a true story. It was so manic, but it was so genuinely... It was such a genuine reaction to not understanding what was happening that it was gorgeous. This girl both hated my guts and wanted to marry me, but then didn't want to marry me because the magic that she would deal with would hurt her brain. Like, it was all in a span of like a 10-second like freak out. And it was great.
That's the whole goddamn roller coaster.
Oh, it was a roller coaster. But like I worked for it because it started out with a trick. She's like, oh, this card, and it was a card that she just happened to get, means a lot to me because of this. And she's like, it's like this card's haunted or something. And I'm like, it is haunted. And then it was just, for the span of an hour, it was just showing, and I didn't have multiple cards, nor did I have this planned, but this card now showed up on clocks in her purse, under her food. Like, it was the traveling card. It was the traveling card, and it was freaking funny, and that's one of those stories that I love. The Long Beach Booze Cruise. I'll tell the story about that. I don't know the full story, but I know what trick you're talking about because I can show that trick. But excuse me. What card? Hallmark. Joe Beth, you're ridiculous. For anybody who's just watching this and isn't in the live feed, someone asked Joe Beth. Asked Joe Beth, what card were you thinking of? And she said Hallmark. So, wow, you have a headset on and everything?
Yeah. Well, because I had to move away and I wanted you to... Can everyone hear me okay? Are the levels all right?
Levels look good, yeah.
Okay,
if you guys have issues,
so this is like the setup I have. This is the setup I have when I'm performing. So whether it's a lecture or a Zoom show, which I had earlier, I have like this earbud so that I can hear what's happening without any chance of echo, and then I have my wireless belt pack transmitter that I found a way to connect to my PC.
That's
so,
hilarious.
Like I can move around and be hands-free.
Hey,
yeah,
brilliant.
These are the things you have to think about. And now I'm starting to learn about OBS and all that stuff.
All right. If you have questions.
So this is based off of So our buddy Robert Ramirez recently released a trick called Shaken Not Stirred, which is an update on a Die Vernon trick called the cocktail card trick. I have taken it and changed it slightly, and now it is called. This is how magic works. It's like we just take the stuff before us and we change it, and then someone else will eventually take that and change it again.
Yep.
So this is called Shuffled Not Stirred. And this is something that I'm hoping to actually release really, really soon. So you guys are like the second people to ever see this in a public form. Here we go. So I got a packet of playing cards here. What's great about this is there's 2 different ways to do this. There's one. I'll show you kind of like both. All right, so here we go. So we're going to have several people select a playing card, or we can just have, since you're the only one that I can really talk to and chat with, we'll just have you. Herb, so I'm going to dribble through the and I just want you to go ahead and call out and say stop for me anytime you'd like.
All right. Stop.
Right there?
Yeah.
Excellent. Go ahead and take a look at the card. Is that okay? I'm going to look away. Is that okay?
Yes. Can you guys all see
Can you
it?
see it?
I'm assuming
Yeah.
everybody can see it.
I can't check the monitor, or else it counts as cheating.
No.
All right,
You can bring it down. I'm sure their reply will be slightly delayed, but yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm going to continue. Just say stop again.
Stop.
Okay, right there. Next card, memorize that one as well. Feel free to write it down if that'll help you.
Someone write these down. Hold on, I'm gonna do this because it'll be easier for me. Hold that for a second. I'm gonna get because my memory is horrible. Now show me that one.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm literally getting the cards from this deck, hoping that they're in there, just because I'm really bad. I hope I remember the first one. I think I got the
You can't
first
just write it down?
one. Well, I have a deck in front of me. I don't have a paper or a pen in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Do you have both cards? Okay. So we need one more card. Go ahead and I'll start over again. Just say stop.
Stop.
We gotta say stop.
Yeah. I was trying to give
Son of a
everybody...
gun.
Stop.
Okay, go ahead and stop.
Stop.
Right there. Go ahead
Yeah.
and take a look at the card. Memorize it. You got it?
All right. Yep.
All right. Yeah, you have it?
Yep. Yep.
All right, so normally this would work better in person, but I'm learning how to do it on Zoom. So here, I want you to note something here. I'm not going to shuffle the cards. Now, in Magic, there's sometimes something called card control where you can track the cards or mix them to where you want them to be. I'm not going to do any of that. You said stop in 3 separate places, all right? And without any funny business, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to put the cards inside this cocktail shaker. All right. Here we go. And now, we're going to shuffle. All right. Let's see. I think I can find the cards here. Let's see. I'm pretty sure that one of the cards selected was... This one. This is going to be one of the cards right here. One of the cards was the Ace of Clubs.
Yep. Just drop
One
the
card.
card.
And then we also have another card is going to be the 2 of Spades.
Yep.
I want to see that there's nothing in here. There's no mirrors, nothing like that. Just a cocktail shaker. All right, and for the very final card, we're going to go with, let's see, I'm going to tell you now, it's not one of these cards. And it is not one of these cards. King of Diamonds. Every single card found, shuffled, not stirred. And I think that treats me. Yep. Means that I deserve a drink. Thank you very much. Cheers. There you go.
That's my upper class.
Thanks. So the original trick was done in a bag. Like you have 3 people select cards, and then you put them in with a bunch of other cards into a bag, and you shake the bag, and you reach in the bag, and you're able to find their cards. And that was Robert's update, and I was like, shaken not stirred. That's a good name, but it makes me think of a cocktail, and now I want a cocktail element. I was like, so what if I change it to a cocktail shaker? So mine's gonna be called shuffled not stirred. I'm gonna release like a version where you can do this with. You can do the first part with any cocktail shaker. And then if you want to be able to do the second part, you need to buy a little extra something special. So there'll be like a download version where you can just do the trick with any cocktail shaker, and then there's going to be an extra something in the deluxe version.
An extra
that will help you
something.
do that second part.
An
extra
extra
something
something. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Cool.
Magic.
How was that? Did people enjoy that? What are they saying in the comments?
They said.
You know how work am I hacked? I'm a hack, and I should quit.
Rob earlier said he bought that, so I guess he bought the old version. Joe Beth said, "Huzzah!"
Oh, he probably bought Robert's, shuffled not, shaken not stirred.
Yeah, and
it's a solid trick. It's fooling.
Yeah,
great.
Well played, huzzah! And Mal says applause. So yeah, so far,
Yay.
people like your illusion. You show off.
My illusion.
My illusion. Look at me. I do 3-card magic.
3-card magic.
This is This is 3-card Monty, but in a shaker.
But yes, this is 3-card Monty, but without a guy named Monty.
No.
This is 3-card. This is the long version of the routine, so this is the longer and formal version, so it's 3-card Montgomery.
Monk.
What this is. This is
like Montgomery. Yeah, you don't want to ask about Monty because Montgomery. There's a story behind that. I don't know what the story is. I don't know what it is.
I do, and I'm not allowed to tell it. I signed an NDA.
Can I get in here?
I don't know. Can you?
We're both blocked. We both
Hold on, let me All right, ready, here we go. I don't know this. Is this right? I can't see the live stream, so I don't know if
Yeah,
right.
you were doing it right. There you go.
Okay. Ready? Oh, hold on. Let me turn off the... Are you sure that's the right direction?
Yes.
Oh, there's such a
I'm
delay.
watching.
There's such a
I'm
delay.
watching it.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Take it. Now throw it back to me. Throw it back to me.
Ready? So, want me to actually throw it back to you? Ready?
Yeah, throw it back to me. Ready?
Here you go. Ah! I threw it!
And then... Oh, I got
Yeah!
it! Yay!
Give it back. Give it back.
All right, here we go. There we go.
Ah!
Yay!
Have I? Wait.
Another card! Yay! Okay.
I want to show you the thing with the card with the. I told you about it, but there's a trick that I learned and I had to buy it because I thought it was stupid, and I mean stupid in the sense where it made me laugh for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. I rarely do it, but like there's a whole thing where people pick a card and then I get their card, whatever. I think it's funny, but if you grab their card, the magicians who created this effect use it as a way. They created it because they were picking up women. I think it's fucking hilarious. So this is an adult trick. I don't know what I put. I don't know why I did this right now. I just did it. So this is an adult trick. So you get somebody to get a card. You find the card and you show them, I got your card. And they're like, I don't believe you. And you're like, what? And they're like, can I? And this is what those magicians said. They would go, can you seduce a person? He said women. Can you seduce a person with a card trick? With magic? Which most of the time the answer is, yeah, you can. And they're like, well, if I can, then why do I need a card? And he turns the thing into a freaking condom. Look at that. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. And the weirdest thing about it, like, it's even called magic. Like, this is a real. It's back.
Condoms?
Yeah, it's you can't, like, obviously there's a lot of glare because of my light, but he goes and turns this into a condom. The worst part about this, and this is why I bought it, because when I saw it, I laughed because I was like, he turned a card into a condom. I've seen cards turn into a billion different things. I've never seen it turn into a condom. So it made me laugh.
Into a condom.
It made me laugh so hard. But what got worse, what made it even funnier to me, is that the trick, like stories and magic shows, they're stages, right? If you've seen The Prestige, you know how in Prestige they go, there's the turn, there's the blah, blah, blah. So, the Prestige, and there's the Prestige. So in this, the guy turned it into a condom, and I've done this to people. I've gotten the card, found the card, they're like, what? And I'm like, and I always start with how the person made it, because it usually has beats that move the story along, or what you're trying to present as the trick, as the illusion. So I used theirs, and I slowly made it my own. But he's like, hey, can you hit on someone with it? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, then why do I need a thing? You flip it, you turn it into a condom. What made this more interesting was that you would grab this and give it to the person. And I've done this many times. I've gotten this, I've turned into a condom. I have video. If you guys want to look at my TikTok, my YouTubes, my whatever, you can find the video of people's honest reactions. I give them it, and they just stare at me for a second, and they just start laughing because they're like, "This is so funny." And I've had people
so
grab
bizarre.
it and go, "Cool, I'll save this for later," and they put it in their pocket, and I'll wait an hour, right? I've also had it where someone would say, "Hey, it'd be really funny if in the packet was my playing card," and I'm like, "That would be funny, right? That'd be great."
It would be funny.
Open it.
Do it.
And they're like, "What?" And should I open it? I should have done a card. We haven't picked the card out.
No. It's entirely up to you, man. I mean, nobody picked a card though, so I mean,
yeah. So
I think we'll believe you if you say that. Yeah.
There's, I get a card in here. I get their card. They open it, and their card is in there, and it's fucking hilarious, because, like, we didn't do. And me explaining this, I kind of wish I would have started with one of you guys going, "Hey, think of a card, name a card," and then I could have continued with this. But it's one of the fairest tricks, because the moment I turn this into a condom, I hand it over. And the moment I hand it over, I have no control of what happens next. And I learned some people, or their brain starts planning what's next, if there's a next. And if they forget that there's a card, they're just stuck with, that's a condom. You just turned it into something that's just, like, you know, to a lot of people, younger people are like, "Oh my God, it's a condom, it means sex." The older people were like, "No, this is important." But you hand this over to someone, and you let their brain run. And I think that's back to, like, we were talking about Teller, where Teller doesn't talk because your brain starts thinking. Same thing with this thing. If I turn it into something, and then I shut my mouth, and I hand it over, their brains are gonna, at least in my experience, they've gone in two directions. One,
yeah, it's a very powerful moment.
yeah, one is, "Hey, that's funny." You turned it, and they put it away. The other was, "It'd be funny if it was in here." Literally. And so if they put it away, I'll wait an hour and then go, "Hey, what was your card?" You know? They're like, "Oh, it was this." I'm like, "Oh. Yeah, where's the thing?" And they go and I don't even touch it. The other version is, "Oh, it'd be funny if it was in here." It's like, that would be funny.
And that's
Open it.
that's one of those great things. Yeah, one of those great things about Magic is that there are times when the audience thinks they're in control, and you're like, there's only a few different ways for this to play out, and 1 out of every 5 times, it is the way that makes it seem more impossible, because they're in control of the moment. You give them control of that moment, and when you don't push things, you get that freedom, and then they're like, "Oh man, like, it would be great if my card were in here." Like, that'd be impossible.
Yeah.
Check it.
Yeah.
You know, like, or, you know, because one of the great things, especially, is if you can move the moment. Like, if that's been sitting in their pocket for an hour, and then, like, what was the card you picked before? Yeah. Check it now, because then they have this thing of, like, I had the freedom, I could have opened this, and what would he have done if I had opened this?
Yeah.
Then that would have changed the trick. That would have changed the narrative.
Yeah.
And we get to affect the way that narrative is perceived, which is, like, one of my favorite things. Like, there's just so much psychology built into Magic, and that's like one of the, if I had to get a real degree, I would have majored in psychology.
Yeah.
I think the human brain is really, really fascinating, and that's kind of what I do with all my effects. Is I look at it through the lens of psychology of what is the perceived effect here. What is, because there's not just what they're going to perceive. There's also there's the two narratives. There's the narrative of that I'm telling, and then there's their perceived narrative. The narrative they're telling themselves.
Yeah.
Because some of them will play along and be like, yes, okay, the card jumps inside the condom. But other people are like, okay, in order for this to have happened, he's stealing the card off, he's hiding it in his hand. Because you don't have to be a genius or know a lot about Magic to be able to follow along basic principles of, like, okay, if he has sneaked the card off, if he has seen the card, if someone is helping him off stage, they write this story. And some people, that's just how they enjoy Magic.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
If you enjoy Magic by analyzing, critiquing, that sort of thing, you have to keep that in mind. And so you have to be able to take that other narrative into consideration. You can't ignore that entire half the audience that's going to approach this a lot more analytically. You have to incorporate them, and if you can, give them something else to take away from it.
Yeah.
Like, I do this one trick that involves reading 3 people's minds, and I know that some people are following along in a very linear, okay, this is what he's doing. Some people are saying, okay, in order for him to appear to read people's minds, he needs to be doing this, and then this, and then this. So I will do everything according to that narrative, and at the end, I will turn it on its head. So anyone who's following along normally still appreciates the trick just fine. But anybody else who's telling their own narrative, I've now disrupted that. But it doesn't take away from other people watching the show. It's just something for those people who are analyzing it in this way. And I think that's a really, really fascinating thing that we get to do that I love being able to do.
Magic.
Magic's awesome.
Magic is awesome. The psychology of it, I don't think people realize how some of the simplest do-it-yourself tricks that you can buy for less than $1 in some cases sometimes are the most powerful. And it's because it's so simple that the brain processes it differently and goes, this is impossible. When in reality, it's very possible because it just happened.
Yeah.
And it's so simple that your brain, a complex, the most complex organ, complex organ is the one who is trying to figure it out, not realizing it's above the thought process of it. So.
Yeah, it's not infallible. The human brain is not infallible. And it's so wonderful to be, especially for regular people, for anybody to just carry around a magic trick on them. I highly recommend everyone learns at least one magic trick at some point in their life. Because you never know when it's going to be great at a party, or if it's something that you get to carry around in your wallet or your pocket or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, some magic tricks are built into everyday carry objects like wallets or pens or that sort of thing. And if you have a little trick with a dollar bill or a trick coin that always sits in your wallet, you're ready to go. Whether you're at a bar or you're just waiting in line at the post office or the bank or whatever. And when you get to bring magic into these ordinary circumstances, I think it's like, it oftentimes is more impressive than the most complex piece of magic on stage, because it's all about the moment and the context you're experiencing this moment in. When you were waiting in line at the grocery store, you were not expecting to see somebody grab a package, like take a bar off of the thing. Like imagine that you're in line and you're just like, oh crap, I left my wallet in the car. Hold on. And you grab like a roll of certs or whatever, like Jolly lifesavers, and you go, And now all of a sudden it's a roll of bills, something like that. And then you like open and then you take a few and you pay off. Like that is the type of thing that like on stage, that'd be pretty cool. In real life, apropos of nothing, you're just like, that melted my brain because I wasn't in a mindset that was ready to perceive anything that outside of the realm of possibility. Yeah. I think everyone should learn a magic trick.
I agree.
And they're fun. They're great.
Yeah.
Icebreakers.
You don't even have to, in a lot of the cases, you don't even have to buy anything. You can do something with a quarter. Everybody has a deck of cards. You can just do with a deck of cards. I think that's why so many people do card tricks. It's because cards are so accessible. Because everybody has them for games. Even if it's like an old deck, you can probably learn something. But understanding it and feeling comfortable with it, because selling the trick is more important than the trick. You have to know how to
presentation.
Presentation of a trick is more important than the actual trick. You can present anything, and guess what? There are people gonna sell it. They're gonna buy it just because they're like, what? Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, I just made this monkey come out of my butt. How'd you do that? Presentation. The monkey didn't really come out of my butt, because then you're putting a monkey up your butt, and you shouldn't do that. Shouldn't do that.
Wouldn't that make it a capuchin monkey?
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
Now we got into the poop monkey jokes.
Capuchin monkey.
Capuchin monkey. Does anybody have any more questions? Anybody hanging out? I know we have a lot of people who are just chilling out. Thanks.
We've been here for like 3 hours. I wouldn't be surprised. Everyone's like, all right, enough.
Yeah.
I've heard enough of you talking.
And we had Joe Beth here for like the whole time. And I'm sure Nene too.
Wow.
So, yeah, like, I'm at that point where I'm like, I don't even know what else to ask you. We talked about Up in Smoke. We talked about have you ever been crucified by Dan Bancroft? I don't think you know who that is. So,
yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Oh, yeah, you do know him. He was saying he knows you. I have
been crucified by Dan Bancroft. I have literally been crucified by Dan Bancroft. Not like, man, he crucified me in the reviews. I did a production. I've been a part of 3 different productions of Jesus Christ Superstar. And I've played Jesus all 3 times. And so that was, I think, the first time round I did it. And I was just the understudy Jesus. But Dan Bancroft was this guy. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and we're talking about the same person, he's got these awesome angel wing tattoos on his back. And so, like, he would, like, there's this scene where he gets the 30 lashes or something. And so imagine just this big 6-foot guy takes off his shirt and he's got angel wings tattooed on his back, and then and you're watching Jesus Christ Superstar, and then he starts whipping Jesus. Oh my God, it was awesome. So yes, I have been crucified by Dan Bancroft. Who the hell asked that question?
Rob. Dan Bancroft is part of our community. We also, some of us worked with him, so we know him.
Oh yeah,
so yeah, he saw our post about this stream, and he was like, "I know Naathan Phan." I was like, "Dude, that's cool." So I totally forgot until you reacted like that. I was, oh yeah, he did put it in our Discord. So Dan Bancroft, the
I've done musicals too. People, it's weird because like I feel much closer to the. I consider myself more a musical theater kid than I consider myself a magician.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am technically part of the magic world, obviously, but like at my heart, at my core, I'm more a musical theater kid, and so musicals.
So what would you do first? A Broadway show or a magic show at Radio City Music Hall?
I think it depends on what. It depends on the deal. Like, if someone was saying, we're doing a production of this and we want to cast you as this role, I'd say yes, absolutely. But if it's between that and me getting a chance to do my own show, well, then my own show would be a mix of things. Because in my show, I have jokes for the musical theater crowd, I sing songs for musical theater, I also sing some pop songs, but I also do magic, and I get to tell my stories. And that, to me, is more, like, you could, like, I have a good voice. I have a very good voice.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sound full of myself. I have a very good voice, but you could, like, for an actor, like, you have one person of a certain caliber of talent is like anybody else. Like, you could cast anyone else. You need someone to play, I don't know, just like randomly, like if it's Jesus Christ Superstar. You offer me something like that, that's great. I will absolutely take that. But you could also have anyone else of equal vocal quality to play Jesus Christ, right? But no one else can do my magic and my material because it speaks to a very specific point of view, and it's stuff that I have written. So really it comes down to, it depends on, if you say magic show. Now, if it comes down to just a straight magic show, like if someone had scripted a magic show and someone had scripted a musical, and they say, okay, you can either do these two pieces of material, and they've been written by someone else, but you have to do it, I would probably pick the musical first. But if you give me the ability to script, then it's like, well, now this is truer to me. My magic show is truer to me, and it's a story that only I can tell.
Yeah, but you can't.
Material, a lot of it that only I can do.
But you can't sing in your own magic show. I'm making it even more difficult. You get to make your own show,
gotcha.
but they don't want a musical. They want you to do a magic show, and then you have a musical. Like I'm just making it even more complicated. Okay. Yeah, like there's a legit Broadway musical. Versus
I'd probably do the legit Broadway musical.
All right.
Versus just a straight up, because otherwise it's like, you want a magic show that if you aren't going to let me sing, then what else are you going to not let me do? In which case, get another magician. Get someone else. And also, I've already made headway in the magic world, but I haven't made a lot of headway in the musical theater world. So it would be like giving me the chance to be exposed to that community, and getting to see like, oh, and here's this newcomer on the scene. And then outside of that, they'd be able to discover I'm a magician on top of that.
Yeah.
So really, people know that I'm a magician. Lots of people don't know I'm a musical theater guy. So I'd rather do the musical theater.
Gotcha.
That's the way you're going to put it.
Yeah, I'm just making the whole thing a little more difficult for you.
Hypothetical. Anything else?
I'm looking. I've got. Someone sent me a picture. I'm trying to see if anything is sent to me. Trying to see if I'm missing anything from all the stuff. Mal left. Bye, Mal. You probably missed my goodbye. I am happy you are here. I feel like we went through a lot of stuff, which is great. Yeah, we're 3 hours plus. So you have your video coming out tomorrow. Someone said that it's on your Patreon. Is it?
It is. So for my Patreon, what I will do is I do a combination of things. I sometimes post stuff that I'm writing. I post songs that I've created scratch tracks to, or I just felt like doing a cover. So sometimes people oh, we'd love to hear you sing Phantom of the Opera. I'm like, great. So I'll upload this video, and this is just for my Patreons. Or sometimes I'll release stuff early for my Patreon subscribers, and then. So there is lots of stuff you can see on my Patreon that is not available anywhere else, but you don't have to be a patron of in order to enjoy. But there is some exclusive stuff, and then there's lots of stuff that gets released early. So my Patreon subscribers got the video like 2 days ago, so they get to see it for a few days first before it goes public. But I've also got the first chapter of my novel up on my Patreon.
Nice.
I'm writing a novel, nothing to do with magic. It's just a novel that I'm writing. And then what else? And then I'm also working on a jukebox musical version of Midsummer Night's Dream. So every once in a while, I'll sit there and like, oh, you know what would fit right into this? It sounds weird, but it works better than you think. Like one of the first things I recorded was a Bruno Mars song in there, which like, and there's like perfect beats in the music for like dialogue to happen. So I've got Bruno Mars's is it I Want to Marry You or I'm Gonna Marry You?
Yeah.
Is that song? Yeah. I think I'm gonna marry you. So that's in there. That's one of the first songs in it. I've also got You Give Love a Bad Name, sung between Oberon and Titania, who are the king and queen of fairies. It's wonderful. And then I've got Puck singing Welcome to the Jungle at one point. It's great. So like I will sit down and I'll pull these karaoke tracks and I'll sing to see if I can like make it work with the dialogue and everything. And so I'll post random stuff like that up on there, and you know, it's so it's just me. It's a combination. You'll get sometimes it's magic videos, and then I have a higher tier. So like it's the lower stuff is you can influence like what kind of videos you'd like to see me do, what kind of songs you'd like to hear me sing, and then the higher tier stuff is more or less geared towards magicians because you get free like consultation sessions basically, like something that I normally charge hundreds of dollars for, but for this much a month, I think the top tier I have is $50 a month, but for that you get like a full hour of consultation every month. And then if you want to do additional consultation, whether that's about the way you dress, plotting of your magic, the scripting of the magic, any of that stuff, you can get more sessions if you want at a discounted rate. But so I've got that, and then I've also got like I'm starting to do like master classes. Just like I'm gonna do things like, oh, here's a basic crash course on Photoshop for magicians because I'm tired of seeing really bad stuff. So I'm like, I'm just gonna teach you how to like here's how to use chroma key, and here's how you use the how to magic wand tool, just so that you can get yourself looking better on these promo things, just like basic stuff like that. Basic so it's fun. Check it out. I got some cool stuff on there.
Nice.
And it's something else for me to do and focus on, which is what I need. I just need to stop from like kind of losing my mind.
Hey, I feel like this is the time where all the creative people are like, hey, I'm not getting paid, but let's create, you know?
Exactly.
And
let's
it's like,
do something.
and this is the time to do it, because when you can't freaking do it,
it's
like
the time when there's all this other stuff. You're like, oh, if only I had time. Like for me, because I was on cruise ships like since, like I mentioned, April, and then I got off in March, and I had maybe a month and a half off when I wasn't on cruise ships during that time. And when I say month and a half, I don't mean consecutive. I mean 2 days here, 1 week here. I think there was 3 weeks I got off solid altogether. But yeah, for the most part, I'm running around like a madman. So there was all these things I wanted to do that I never had a chance to do, and now I have time. But not just not in the way that I wanted to have the time. So
hey, create like you're well. That's how I see it. Create like you don't have a tomorrow, and then when tomorrow comes, then you have this thing that you spent yesterday making. You know, that's how I'm seeing it. That's how.
Absolutely.
That's how. I think it's a good way to see it. Figure out what you like. If you can't, I think this is a good moment for everybody to kind of go, what wasn't giving me my full potential, or what wasn't making me happy, and this is the perfect time to recourse and change directions, you know. So
to really take a look at your life, just take a step back and look at your life and say, okay, what wasn't working before, and how can we make that work? You know.
And it's also with friendships, I think, and relationships, I think it's a lot of people's true colors are finally coming out, so you can go, you don't jive with me as much as I thought. Or, oh, wow, you jive with me way more than I thought, you know?
I thought,
Yeah, so I feel like relationships are like they're just being refocused.
Reevaluated, refocused, redistributed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Reallocated.
Yeah,
now is the time for that. One of my favorite, there's this wonderful song that's called I've Got to Be Me. And Sam Davies Jr. kind of made it a little famous. And there's this wonderful line that goes, I want to live, not merely survive. And I'm like, oh, that line, I want to live, not merely survive, because you realize like the way that the world is constructed, especially in a capitalistic country like ours. It's like it's all about the rat race. It's all about I go to work, I make money, and then I spend the money staying alive so that I can go to work again. Like that's it. Like you're just surviving. But
Yeah.
you're not necessarily living.
Yeah.
You know. And so now is the time to look at your life and what is it that makes you want to live? What is it? How can you enjoy each day? And it's one of the reasons I love performing on cruise ships so much, because all the people who go to on cruises, they're like, you know what? This week I'm not going to worry about surviving. This week I've set aside this money and this time to enjoy every single moment I can out of this 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, however long the cruise is.
Yeah.
And so everyone's there to have a good time, you know.
Hey, that's awesome. Because, yeah, like,
It really is.
it makes complete sense. Why you might as well, if you go on vacation, freaking vacation, make it like a party. Even if you're 90, if you can do it, you might as well.
And most of them are on cruise ships. At least the cruise ships I work. I work on Princess and Holland America, and
Nice.
the audiences on those tend to skew a lot older.
Yeah.
So yeah, 94-year-old grandma on a cruise ship, absolutely. How are you gonna get on all those beaches? I don't know, but you're here and you're enjoying it, so enjoy it.
Yeah. Does anybody have any more questions? I know we have a request, so when we do finally finish, the lovely Jo Beth says, Walken reciting Lady Macbeth's out damn spot monologue. She requested that for the ending of the stream. I'll tell you now, so you have time to look it up. But yeah, if anybody has any requests, any questions
I
about,
should switch back to the real mic for that.
yeah,
Then.
do it. Yeah, if anybody has any questions about anything specific regarding magic, I think we talked about Up in Smoke, AGT, a lot of things. So he even did some magic. I did some magic. Maybe one day we should do a. Do you remember the time? Let's do story time. Do you remember the time when we went to Magic Castle, and it was you and me. We were having fun, and we went to not the library. We went to the what is it called? The original stage, the downstairs. I can't hear you. We're talking. Yeah, I can't hear you. You're not coming through. Your face is hilarious. There's a green.
Okay.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little out of sync, but I can hear you. The Cellar Theater. Thank you. The Cellar. No, is it the Cellar?
It used to be called the museum because they had all that stuff like set
Yeah.
up that was
Yeah.
kind of like artifacts.
Where people
and then-
still go down and then like do shows there.
where the J Aussie Posse would
Yeah, where there's a little bar that's and then the yeah. Yeah, I guess it is Cellar Theater. I was thinking museum because I'm just used to that. But
It used to be a museum and now it's the cellar. Yeah.
yeah. So there was a time where it was me and Nathan and we were doing our castle outings. I missed those when it was just you and me and we would go and drink and just like be slightly I don't want to say intoxicated, but we were just having fun. We'd go visit the people.
Buzzed and chaotic, yeah.
Yeah, it was paused chaotic, but it wasn't like we were sloppy or anything. We'd go visit the people who are our friends. We'd go and watch some shows. We'd have some good food. And then we'd walk up like 2 blocks down on Hollywood Boulevard in our suits. But there was one time when we went to the Cellar, the museum, and there was no one there. We weren't doing a show or anything. We were just sessioning. And it was you and me, and we were just talking. I forgot what we were talking about, but we were talking about theories and ideas, and we were having a nice long. And we were I think we were a little bit inebriated. And I remember, I think it was you and me, and we turned around. We just looked to our left because we were like facing each other, and the whole room is filled with people. And we were like, "What the fuck?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was like people.
What's happening?
They came out of nowhere. I think they came out of another show, but they all went downstairs. And there isn't a downstairs show. Like sometimes people are like, "Come downstairs, I'm gonna do a show," but there's no like official theater where people actually like their scheduled shows. There isn't. So we turned.
The J Aussie Posse. It's basically like your chance to do open mic night, kind of like you sign up for slots and you can perform, but there's no officially scheduled shows.
Yeah, people just kind of take over the table, and we weren't doing a show. We were just seated, sessioning, hanging out. And this little space, which is the size of a room, is packed. Like, I mean, within seconds. Like, it was one of those where we turned around, there's like, oh, there's people here. They're just hanging out. We turn around, and it's packed. Even to the standing room area.
Yeah.
All looking at us because we were at the stage talking with decks of cards about Magic. And I remember turning to you and going, what the? I'm like, what the fuck? And we just looked at each other and we're like, what do we do? And I think we came to the consensus where it was like one up, and that was it. And so for those who don't know what a one up is, it's pretty much like if I do a trick, then he's gonna one up me. He's gonna do something slightly better.
But not like in a competitive way.
No.
In a like just like it's like the theatricality demands escalation.
Yes.
Like, dramatic build.
Yeah, but
so that's what we did.
By no means were we competing with each other. It was very much like, oh, we are now in a box of having to perform. Like, we could have just walked out, but then we would have been those douches walking around, you know? But it was like, oh, there's... Yeah, what they were just there, and we came for a show. And so we're standing there, or sitting there, and I'm like, shit. And he's like, what up? So I do something little. I don't have anything. I'm a card guy, so I have cards. And he has a few things. And so I do something, and then he does something. And then I do something, and then he does something. And we're just escalating it, making it a little bit bigger and bigger. And it finally gets to like, we've done like 6, 7, maybe between both of us. And he turns to me after he does and goes, do your ender, do your closer. He's like, cause I'm gonna get ready for our closer. And I'm like, he's gonna do something big. So he leaves the room, right? Cause there's still a curtain, right? But there's nothing in there.
I remember what the hell.
I'll tell you what you did.
Okay, yeah, please do, because I don't remember.
So he opens the curtain and leaves. There's nothing almost back there. It's literally a curtain. So he goes back there, disappears. I'm by myself. And one of the things I do when I do magic is I tell people, what do you want to see? Which is something you never ask people. What do you want to see? But it's what I do. Because it's almost like improv practice. If I go, what would impress you? And you go, I want to see a card over here, or a card over... 70% of the time... Yeah, 70% of the time I can make it happen. Not always, but a good amount. And it's good practice for me to put myself in my shoes. So I knew that I'd do this. So I remember there was these nice elderly ladies in the front. And one woman's, I'm like, we're going to do another card trick. Find the card, because that's the easiest way, just different ways to do that. One of the 7 rules. And I go to the lady, I'm like, where would you like it to show up? And one woman's like, I want it on the ceiling! Like this. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to stick this card on the ceiling, right? And another woman's like,
yell at me.
Yeah. And another woman's like, I want it under your foot! Like this. I don't know why I'm doing like an old man impression. But, but they all like, I want it there. I'm like, okay, what do I do, right? And I'm, all right, so this is what I do. I cut the cards, and I know what card they want, and I fling it, and I shoot it. I shoot it hard. The card rotates up, hits the ceiling hard, flings straight down to the ground, and I step on the card. And I'm like, does that work? And they're just like confused, because I'm like, what? I'm like, it was on the ceiling, and it was on my shoe. So I got both of them, right? And then what was your card? This is your card. And they're all like confused, but they're like, that cool. So they give me the pity, whatever. Because I'm like, what can I do to end it? I don't have a closer. I don't, I rarely do shows. Usually I book jobs off of word of mouth. I don't publicize myself as a magician. So I didn't have a closer. So I'm like, I'll let them decide what they see and they get. So I do that. They're like, ooh, that was great. Cool. And I'm like, all right. And then Nathan opens up the curtain, right? Nathan opens up the curtain. Like, he comes out and goes, guys, if you enjoy this show, thank you for coming to the Cellar Theater. This is Herb. My name's Naathan Phan. And if that didn't impress you, then I hope this does. And goes, bird. Right? And a fucking bird, appears when we're just doing card magic. All we're doing is fucking card magic. In this little...
Sounds like something I would do.
In this little fucking room. All we're doing is like, what up?
It's tiny.
But he literally stepped back for a second, and it just became this
This
feat.
room is like maybe 10 feet across, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like 10 feet. It's nothing. But he
Like
came
10 feet across and maybe 20 feet deep. Yeah.
I don't even think it's 20 feet deep. I think it's maybe like 15.
I don't think so. Like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, but it was so funny, and it was like it was like the perfect cherry on top. This is Herb. I'm Nathan.
It wasn't like out of bare hands. Like I took my pocket squares. Like I was like, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. This is Herb. I'm Nathan. Thank you. And then, dove. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was how you planted it. You were like, this is our show, and if you didn't like it, I hope this does. Bam! Bird!
Right.
And it was a legit, like, it wasn't a fake bird. It was a legit bird that came out.
Legit one of my live birds.
When it came out, it just started flapping. And, like, we're at the Magic Castle, not scheduled show, in a random room that no one does tricks at. Like, people are like, come over here, do show. And a freaking bird showed up. And you can see these... I want to say in this little space, there was maybe 30 people, maybe 40 to 50. Like, they were crammed in. And you just see them... go collectively go like this out of shock.
Most people don't get to watch. First of all, most people don't get to watch doves appear. Period.
Yeah.
When they do, it's on stage, and it's usually, even if you're in the front row, that's still like 10 feet away that these birds are appearing. Very seldom do you get to witness a dove appear within a few feet of your face. And so I've been asked to do like private gigs, like they'll book out like the back room of a restaurant, and I'll come and I'll do like my full. They want a show, so I show up and they pay me, and I do doves and straitjacket and all this stuff. And so I have done dove magic like at a restaurant before, in a private back room, not exposed to like the rest of the restaurant's food, and they asked for me there, and I got permission to do it. But people shut down. They don't know how to respond to a live bird appearing in front of their face.
Oh my god.
It's pretty wild, and it's pretty great.
It was so good. I remember, and then how that night continued. Like, do you remember that?
No, I don't remember.
I don't know if I should tell that story fully, but I'll say a little bit of it. So,
What did we do?
Because I don't know if we want to put this actor on blast. So I'll try to say it, and then if you do, you can continue it.
Okay.
It's nothing bad about this actor. This is a freaking amazing actor. So we go, and people are like, "Good job." And this lady comes up to us.
Oh, was that night?
Yeah, this lady comes up to us.
Okay.
And she's like, "Oh my god, me and my husband came. We were just walking by, and we saw you guys were doing a show, so we just watched it. Oh my god, that show was amazing. Like, we wasn't expecting that, and this, that, and the other." And she's like praising, nicest woman, right? Uh-huh. And out of everybody that was like, good job, because usually it's like that kind, cool, and they walk off. This woman was like, oh my god, like stopped me. I remember she stopped me first. Stopped me, like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. And then Nathan came up, and we're near the rail, near the end of the room.
And she's got this cool accent that I can tell is not Australian. I was like, oh, I think she's from New Zealand, because it's this really funky accent. Too.
Yeah. And then, so we're talking to her. Beautiful personality. She's just a sweet person. Talking. And she's like, yeah, I want you to meet my husband. He loved it. And we're like, oh, cool. And cool. This famous comedian walks up.
Relatively famous. He's
Relatively,
not, like,
you're right.
Incredibly famous.
You're right.
But he's recognizable. If you saw him, you'd be like, oh, this guy, because he pops up in everything.
Should I say his name?
Yeah, I don't see why.
So it's this comedian named Rhys Darby. So he's in the newer Jumanji movies. He's the guy who's like, welcome to Jumanji! Like that.
Hey, welcome to Jumanji!
And so for those who know me, I'm a big Jim Carrey fan. So the first thing I think of is Yes Man.
Yeah.
And so he comes up. Yeah, because he comes up and I see his face and his voice.
Yeah.
And the first thing I think of is that scene in Yes Man where he's like, he's like, trying to fist ya. Like this. Trying to fist ya. And it's just like it wasn't meant to be dirty, and it's so sincere. And I just think of that, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Rhys Darby. And he's like, yeah. And we're like, all right. And then we progress. Me, Nathan, him, his wife, and I don't know if they're, and then maybe a friend.
Friends.
Yeah, not many.
Yeah. I think it was that.
We just end up hanging out with them, right?
Yeah, in the lobby bar. We were just like in the main bar when you first come in, and we were just there, and we just started doing card tricks left and right.
And just talking to him. Nicest person. Like, we're making jokes. He was talking about, like, how he's flying back out. That was like, I feel like that was like 2013, 2014. Like, that was a while ago.
A long time ago. And he almost had me. He did a show at the what's that little theater? So many acts come through there. It's this small theater. The
Where's it at?
shoot, what is it called? It's not Constantinople. It's this small place, the Foulard. I can't remember it. There's this small theater where lots of like comedians and also other people. And so he came and he did a show there. And it was like gonna be like a guest show where like a bunch of guest acts. And his wife reached out to me and asked if I was available to do the show. It was gonna be like, yeah, recent friends. And like I was busy, so I couldn't do it. But I was like, oh my god, he asked me to be part of
You
the
done
show.
effed up.
I know.
You should have
was
done
like,
it.
Look, I had a gig.
That's fine.
I had a
I would have
gig,
canceled.
okay.
It was just really funny because I remember how like awesome he was and like how like
The Largo.
the Largo.
The Largo at Coronet or something like that. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
this weird two-part name. The Largo, yeah.
Yeah, at that point you would have. I better been your +1 because that shit was so funny. I remember, and the funny thing is, that I remember the last when we finally left. We're leaving, and we're like, "Bye." He starts yelling at us. He's like, "Get out of here! I don't want to see more of your tricks.
Yeah,
Get out of
yeah,
here!"
that's wrong. We don't want to see any more of your magic. Get out of here! He's just shouting.
At the front of the Magic Castle, yelling at us, "Get out of here!" With his accent. It was the freaking funniest thing. Oh, that was a good night. I was so happy because
yeah, so I exchanged contact with his wife. So her and I are friends more than I'm friends with him. But I invited them, and they every once in a while they'll come back and see me perform at the castle. I remember they definitely came and saw Rob and I do our 2-man show.
Nice.
At least once, if not twice. But yeah, great guy, really
Great
lovely.
guy. One of those few people that you meet and you're like, you're not. You're actually a lot more like what I thought you would be.
Yeah.
But better. Like you're freaking just a genuine person.
He's just himself, you know.
Yeah.
He's just like, huh? I'm Reese Darby. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is what he is. He's just like, well, however you see him in the movies, that's like exactly how he is.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, I'm Reese Darby, and we're gonna have some fun tonight. Yeah. It's like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me happy when I meet people like I respect their art and their craft, and you're like, you're either what I expected, or you're better, you know, and it's just like genuine personalities. That's what I like. Cause me, I'm a jerk. I'm like, leave me alone, you know.
Yeah.
But like,
get out of here.
yeah, what do you want? Like,
You're worse than Ellen.
Oh,
no,
yeah, don't get me
so
started.
mean.
No.
So mean.
But yeah, so just seeing him and knowing how much like he was in that movie, and I'm a big Jim Carrey fan, and he's funny, and then meeting him, I was like, shit, you are good people. Like, I want you to continue to succeed in everything you do. Like,
Yeah,
keep that shit
absolutely.
up. And now he's one of the people in Jumanji. He's Jumanji, I guess.
He's
He's like the game
guy who won
voice.
Yeah, like no, there's a name for him, right? Because he's like,
Yeah.
hi, I'm such and such. Welcome, Dr. Brivestein, to Jumanji.
Yeah, welcome to Jumanji. This is the rules. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Yeah, he's a...
I'm glad you got my letter, Dr. Brivestein. You know, that whole thing.
Yeah. NPC, I don't know what NPC
I remember that night now.
That was a good night. Oh, I feel like there's a lot of stories about the Magic Castle, most of which I should not share to the public. Not because they have anything to do with me, it's just because it has to do with other recognizable people that, you know. So,
And the Magic Castle is a place where you come to kind of like let off steam and just enjoy yourself. So like you will sometimes catch people, and because you know it's private, like if you're someone who's constantly at the, you know, that the paparazzi are following around at all times, to know that you're in a place where the paparazzi literally can't get in,
yeah.
is, you know, there's a chance of kind of letting down your guard a bit. So the castle is just a wonderful place to hang out in that regard, because you get to meet celebrities who are there in a different context.
Yeah.
And it's nice because, especially when you're performing for them, then it puts them in a different mood. It's not the mentality of, oh, you want an autograph. It's like, no, I'm here to see something from you. Like, I'm here to implore and to get something from you.
Yeah.
And so that already puts in a, like, they're really nice. Like, anyone I've ever asked for a photo at the Magic Castle has said yes. Outside, of course, you can't do photos inside. But so, like, I met Jason Mewes outside the Magic Castle once, and he's Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, right? And also Karen Gillan of Doctor Who.
Was I with you when I met him?
I don't remember.
Because this was either 2012 or 2013 when I met her.
It was a while ago.
And she was also
2012
sweet.
it would have been, I think.
Yeah, it was because that's when because when I saw her, I was with my best friend. My best friend knew her. I didn't know who she was because they were a big a big Doctor Who
Doctor
fan.
Who fan.
And so they were like, "Oh my god, the blah 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 from Doctor Who's here," and they kept being excited. And then finally, we just got into a conversation with her, and I was like, "Cool." I'm like, "This woman is like super nice." And then we went outside, and she was smoking a cigarette, so they smoked together. And they're like, "Can I get a picture?" She's like, "Yeah." So her and her friend, like, we all got together, took a picture, which I still have somewhere, and she was just nice.
She's
tall.
Fantastic. She's tall. She's also like, she wasn't that famous then. Like, I think this was maybe after Oculus, but maybe before it. Like, it was around that time.
She just moved to Hollywood. I remember that because we were having a conversation.
So I don't think she was even in Oculus yet. So nobody, unless you were a Doctor Who, unless you were Whovian, you wouldn't know who she was.
Yeah.
And so she was great because she was more than happy. Like, she had pen and paper, so she was like ready to sign autographs, but didn't expect it and wasn't annoyed by it. And I actually told her something that, like, this is probably an awkward thing to tell a celebrity. It's like, and I told her, me and my girlfriend, we have this running gag about how she thinks that if I ever met you, I'd run away with you. So would it be possible to get an autograph from my girlfriend with you just saying something about that? And she was like, yeah, of course. And so she signed, like, to Sammy, don't worry, he's all yours, Karen Gillan. Like, just something just very nice and sweet.
Funny.
And so, yeah, that was
yeah. If I would have known she was going to turn into Guardians of the Galaxy, like, MCU, I would have been like, you know, but yeah, she was a sweetheart.
Now she's a pretty big deal, but back then she was just Amelia Pond, just Amy Pond.
Amy Pond.
Amy Pond. Come along, Pond.
Come along, Pond. You see, now I'm trying to think of all the crazy Magic Castle adventures that we've had.
Sometimes they're crazy. Sometimes they're just the start of a great night. Because because it's such a good location in Hollywood, and because it's such a good location in Hollywood, sometimes, like, I've got a mate who's a lawyer now, and at the time he was a law student, and he lived in, like, NoHo. And so every once in a while, I'd be like, I'm at the castle, feel free to join me. And he's like, you know what? I'm just getting off work or just finishing my internship. So he's already in a suit, or like, let me go change into a suit and I'll join you. And he'll come and we'll start. And sometimes we look at the schedule and it's people we'd seen already or people we weren't too excited about, or we just wanted to hang out. So you'd start with this really great atmosphere of listening to Irma, who is the ghost that haunts the piano. So the piano plays itself. It's the ghost is playing the piano, but you can request songs. It's really cool. So you can sit there and listen to some live piano music, drink some really swell cocktails, see some magic if you want to, but also you're surrounded by people all wearing suits, you know, in this gorgeous mansion that was built back in like 1908.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's like, you know what? Let's stumble down the hill, and because it's at the top of this hill, and you head down Orange, and it drops you right off at Hollywood Boulevard, like a few blocks away from the El Capitan. And it's just a really great central location. So within 10 minutes, you can hit like 3 other bars. And so some nights we would just go and just... There was one night we went pub crawling, and we went in some places we probably should not have gone into. But I'll tell you now.
I know one we did, me and you did, where they were closed because they close early. And me and you went 2 blocks down to, what's that hotel, that famous hotel? The Roosevelt.
Oh, the Roosevelt.
And,
are
and
you talking about 25 degrees?
I don't even remember. We've done this once. In this situation, we've done it once. Where we went down, we went to the Roosevelt, and I'm like, where are we going? You're like, trust me. And I was like, all right. And we end up in the inside. We go into this little room, and it's a little bar. And I'm like, all right. And you're like, sit down here. I'm like, I'm just following you. All right. Let's sit down. We sat down in the bar. Bar is probably barely bigger than this table I have, I feel.
Yeah, it's a tiny...
Yeah, and he's like, what do you have? And I'm like, Nathan, whatever you get, just double it. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then the big-ass ice cube. It was the first time I ever saw that big-ass ice cube.
Big-ass ice cubes, yes.
You know?
Like ice cube like 3 inches big.
Where they're like, literally, they fit the entirety of the cup.
Yeah.
So you're like, then how are you going to put anything in there when the cup is literally 99% ice cube?
Yeah.
And it's all artisan when they're all like doing they take 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but it felt like 20 minutes to make it a drink, and you're just there looking at them and you're like, this is beautiful. Just building everything, and finally they're like, and I drink it and I'm already like, we're already
toasted. We're pretty toasty. We were pretty well pissed at this point, but we decided to continue the adventure. And
that was good. We drank that. We cooled down. I think we went next door. Like, I think it was a 7-Eleven or whatever was next door to it, and we got some snacks, and then we like sobered up. We went like next door to get something. Like, we weren't bad, but we weren't driving for a little bit before we got there, and then we drank a little bit.
That's always the tough part.
Yeah, but we were good. But I just remember all those like fun little random castle outings.
it's a magical place for many, many reasons, and
Mm-hmm.
the magicians there are actually like the least magical thing about it,
Yeah.
in the best possible way. I'm not saying they're awful.
Yeah.
Some of them are awful. Don't get me wrong.
Well, that's
But
any industry. There's always the awful people.
any industry, there's always like a few jerks, and it's just like, why are you such an entitled person? Why are you so rude to me? Like, I'm not saying I deserve to be treated like a prince, but like I'm like, not to brag, but I'm literally friends with Penn and Teller, and like I have been to Penn's house numerous times, and he invited me. No, there are a bunch of magician members who would never invite me to their house at the Magic Castle. I'm like, are you a bigger deal than Penn Jillette? Penn Jillette has invited me to his house. I'm not saying you like, oh, you're so lucky to have me over, but I'm saying like, how do you think you can get away with being ruder or meaner to me than Penn Jillette is? Like, that makes no sense.
A legend
is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You're better than a legend who's probably a legend because he treats people nicely. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's crazy to me, mentalities of some people.
Yeah.
But
that all that aside, the Magic Castle is a wonderful place, and I can't wait till it's opening. And I think the latest update is that it won't be open until January of next year.
January of next year. Well,
yeah.
maybe I can send them an email and be like, hey, can I audition in quarantine for next year? I should.
Maybe.
I know some people. You don't too.
Yeah.
I could probably be like, yo, can I send you an audition tape? I did a long time ago, and he's like, yeah, before you audition, send me, he's like, send me what you got. And I was like, all right. And he knows I can do magic. I've directed and written shows for for people performing at the Magic Castle. So he knows how I work as a magician. So I was like, yeah. And then I never did, because I'm one of those where I'm like, I want to become a member. Do I, though? I'm like, there's so many things going on.
Cheap.
I know.
Yeah.
But I do want to do it. I think one of my like one of those goals of like, I'll do it so I can take more people. And when people are like, hey, I need a couple more sign-ins, I'm like, I got you. Or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think it's just a good thing. It's a good escape. And it's almost worth it for the friends or acquaintances or the people that you want to just be like, I'm going to take you somewhere that you've probably never been to. And I hope that this is a memorable night. Memory.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. And I don't know where there's explosions happening.
Yeah, I like those kinds of like exclusive things, and not because I like to feel super hoity-toity and exclusive in the sense of literally excluding others, but there is something really nice that sometimes is there in the atmosphere, and to be able to take someone to a place like that where you normally have to make dinner reservations, you have to pay a cover charge, you have to match the dress code, there's all these things to get in, but it's something about the atmosphere is there, and it's different. It's rarefied air. It's one of the reasons. There's this great bar in Fullerton. It's a speakeasy, technically, in Fullerton called the. Oh my God! It's been so long since I've been at Tribune. Sorry, it's called Tribune. And what's great is it fits maybe 40 people in there. And then if you are a bottle club member, then what that means is you have bought a full bottle of alcohol at their grossly inflated rate. But what it means, like a $25 of booze is like $125. But what it means is that bottle is always sat on the shelf with your name on it. And when you come in, you can drink from it. And since you've already paid for it, any drink from it, or if any neat pour or cocktail made from that is free. And that means that also that rate also builds in the accessories, the other ingredients go into it. And they make a lot of their stuff, like their bitters and stuff, are from scratch. Juices, everything from scratch. But they always have like a revolving menu, and then if you're a bottle club member, then they'll reserve you either a table or a seat at the bar. There's members only events, and these kinds of things are nice because also it's like this hidden thing, like in a nightclub, basically. Like there's a line a mile long for the nightclub to get in, and then if you're a member, you just go straight to the front and like, I'm here for Tribune, and after a while the guys get to know you, and they're just like, go on in. And then you go up to the door or you go up, turn left down a hallway you shouldn't head down, and then you pull like on the wall and it opens up, and it's this nice quiet. Like all the music is usually like jazz from like the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice. You can hear yourself think, talk, and have delicious drinks. Oh my God, drinks are so good. But I love those kinds of experiences more than, like clubs or loud atmospheres. I like being able to enjoy the company of the people I'm with. So, yeah.
Hey. That's awesome. Yeah, we when I went to San Diego last year for Comic-Con, I love speakeasies. Like that's my thing. Little hidden locations where it's like, oh, this is one thing, but if you go through this door and you know about it, there's just a really calm, like, one of my really close friends told me last year about this place behind a hole-in-the-wall taco joint in San Diego. I don't know if people know about it. I don't remember the name of it, but I decided to go the day before my birthday last year while in San Diego. And me and my close friends got a taxi. I think we got a taxi or an Uber, and then drove over there. Found the hole in the wall, right? Walked in, and it's a hole in the wall, POS, almost POS taco joint.
Right.
Where they have like, it's weird. The taco joint has shots, like drinks, like beers. Not like mixed drinks, but it has like random, like they have a bottle. Like here's, we can give you a shot.
We have
this
shots, brand of beer, and these shots.
Yes,
that's all we
that's
have.
what it is. And then tacos, and their tacos are bomb, right? It looks like a hole in the wall. And then you turn and you look, and it's one of those places where it's like you enter. There's really nowhere to go, but there's a hallway that leads to the bathroom. Well, if you go down that hallway to where the bathrooms are, against the wall, there's like what looks like a freezer door, right? A huge freezer door, and you would never think anything of it. Except for when I went, there's a guy in front of it. And so we walk down, we see this freezer door, and I'm about to grab, and the guy goes, ID? And I'm like, okay, so I show my ID. So I'm like, clearly I'm there. It's the bouncer. But he's just at the end of this hallway next to a door, right? So checks my ID. He's like, all right. He's like, all right. And I'm like, okay. And then we go and we open this freezer door, and there's a huge ass bar back there. Dark, classy, like I was underdressed. Like there was no cover charge. Fancy drinks like at the Roosevelt. Like we went back. I got intoxicated, went to the front, got some tacos with my friends. My friends didn't drink.
It's a smart business plan, man.
Smart business plan. And then the guy who was in the front, who was super cool. Like we were talking, they're like, yeah, my birthday, blah blah blah. It's your birthday? Shots for everybody. Like this, and just kept. So I'm like, dude. So it was a really crazy night where people kept feeding me drinks, but luckily I was with people, so I was safe. Jello shots, tequila shots, and tacos. And then got back, just sat down at our place, at the place we were staying at, and just talked for like a good couple hours. It was that was a good birthday, or turning into a birthday, because it wasn't, it was calm.
It was the day before.
It was the day before going to the day. And so my actual day, I wanted to go back. So we went back and had it, but it was still like, it wasn't the same as the night before when we first discovered it. Yeah. Like, it was still good. My friends got tired, understandably so. But the night before, because there was no expectations, and we ended up just sitting and talking about stuff. Oh, it was good. So, speakeasies. If you guys know speakeasies, please let me know, because when everything...
The bomb. Love them.
I love them.
Love a good speakeasy.
Love a good speakeasy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was busy the second night. Yeah. What people are saying. People are telling me to apply as an out-of-town member. Okay, so without going there.
I don't think you live far enough away.
Yeah, I don't think I live far enough.
Farther.
Oh, and from earlier, the Magic Castle rule about pictures, it's called the Cary Grant rule. I knew that and I forgot to say it, and then Rob said it. Cary Grant rule. Yes.
Yep, the Cary Grant rule.
Cary Grant. So, yeah. Well, I think if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I think we've had a really long stream.
We have.
With some magic. Yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of random stories. And I have more. But I don't think anyone wants to see it for another 4 hours.
We all have more.
Oh,
next
man.
time there'll just be stories. Next stream will just be stories we shouldn't tell. Like that'll just be what the stream is called.
We should have one where all we do is magic tricks. We just keep but like we make up stories about the magic trick as we go along. So it's like so we're gonna do 2-card Monty. So this is 2-card Monty when they had a kid. So it's 3-card Monty.
Which is
all right. So it's 3-card Monty.
Which is strange because it uses 6 cards.
Yeah. And all the cards are blank. So
I take and I throw away 4 of these cards to try to get down to the. I take and I throw away 3 cards to try to get down to the 3 cards to do 3-card Monty. That'd be an interesting plot for 3-card Monty.
Right.
Start with 6. It's actually 6-card repeat.
Yeah, you're like I don't. Oh yeah, 2-card repeat. Rob's just said 2-card repeat.
Yeah.
It just doesn't end.
1, 2, 3 playing cards.
Throw them over
now
here.
I have the 3 cards to do 3-card Monty. Son of a gun. All right, so hold on a second.
We use Uno cards.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, that'd be. We should actually do a magic show on. Would that even be possible? Like a full out, like half-hour magic show
Maybe.
on stream, but we make it as interactive and as stupid as possible.
Anything's possible if you put your mind to it, and if there's enough booze. I'm just saying.
Be like
Anything's
the drinking. Oh, it should
possible.
be like the drinking, the magic drinking game, where there's magic, and anytime your brain hurts, you take a sip. Anytime, like anytime where you're like, I know how he did that, you take a sip. You know?
You take a- No, if you say I know he did it, that's a shot. That's
Yeah.
a shot if you know how it works.
Yeah. And then put a disclaimer: you're responsible for all the. You have to cut yourself off.
Yeah.
Oh, not Costco booze. That will. Well, I guess there is some good Costco booze. I take it back. Yeah, I'm not. Well, we can do our own drinks, and then they can do their own drinks. But that would be a whole other, game of something. But yeah, but we should actually think about doing another magic stream and figure out how chaotic and organized we can make it. Send things to people's houses. Imagine that. Do like what Helder is doing, where it's like you get a package in the mail, and then do you know about that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
With Helder. Helder has that show going on, and he has because of everything that's going on, what happens is you pick your show, you watch it through Zoom, and they mail you a package, and they go, don't open it till it's showtime. And so now all this stuff happens while you have this package. Well, maybe we should look into that, because that would be probably interesting, doing us doing an actual full-on, not fully discussion, like this was mainly discussion, but freaking Rob is the Geffen Playhouse, the present. Yeah, I went and saw his last show. Wow, that's a whole other conversation about that show. That show was interesting, in the best way. But the present one, I'm really curious about. I should get tickets, because I'm curious. Are you looking at the monologue?
Yes.
So, I think we're getting close to the end of our stream, guys. Thank you again to everybody who came. That's Naathan Phan. Follow him on all your socials, unless you guys have another question before we go. With the request from the lovely Joe Beth, we will probably end this with a monologue from Christopher Walken.
So the question is, would you? So this is from Macbeth, which is the Scottish play, as people refer to it, because it's set in Scotland. So the question is, would you like this normal Christopher Walken or Christopher Walken doing a Scottish accent?
Oh, let's see if she's still here. That's the real question. I wonder if Joe Beth is still around to answer that question, because those are.
There was like only one time I've ever seen Christopher Walken do an accent that wasn't his own, because he grew up in New York, so he's got this very New York kind of accent. But there's one time it was like a Renaissance film. It's like, my dear, I saw you across the room. And I was like, whoa, Christopher Walken with an English accent is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I have an adopted uncle who's full Indian but speaks with a very thick Vietnamese accent, and that broke my brain the first time I met him.
Joe Beth says, whichever you choose.
Okay, what would you like? Herb, this is your story.
I don't know. You gave me the original Christopher Walken. The normal Christopher Walken is just hilarious. That one's like classy Christopher Walken, so I'm kind of torn. So I'm not the best person to choose on what to pick, because I don't know what to pick.
To be honest, I've never tried Christopher Walken with a Scottish accent before, so I don't even know how it would turn out.
Then do that one.
Right,
and then
let's try. We're gonna try.
And then you can switch it to the other one and midway through if you want.
We'll switch. Yeah, if I don't like it, if I need to abandon ship,
you can just be like,
let's try.
you can just give us a sign like, I'm going in.
This isn't working. Yeah. Get out of here! We don't want you, Scottish Christopher Walken. Get out!
Rhys Darby showed up, guys. Rhys Darby.
Guys.
He just showed up, guys.
No, you guys. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Act 5, Scene 1, a room in Dunsinane Castle. Lady Macbeth. That's performed by Scottish Christopher Walken.
Scottish.
Yeah, here's a spot. Out. Damn spot. Out. I say. 1, 2. Why then, it's time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, a soldier and afeard. What need we fear, who knows it, when none can call our power to account, yet who could have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him. The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What? Will these hands ne'er be clean no more of that, my lord? You mar all with this starting. Alright, I'm gonna switch back to regular.
Yes, do that. Switch it.
I'm gonna switch back to regular. Alright. Here's the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten his little hand. Oh. Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look, not so pale. I tell you, yet again, Banquo's buried. Gonna come out on his grave. To bed. To bed. It's knocking at the gate. Come, give me your hands. What done cannot be undone. To bed. To bed. To bed. Thank you very much. There it is, folks. Christopher Walken doing Scotches, then back to regular. Lady Macbeth's out-damn spot monologue. Oh, the thing.
Yeah,
You're lucky. I'm lucky nobody asked for Gilbert Gottfried, because that would have been like very wearing on my Wednesday.
But I say 1, 2, why then 'tis time to do it.
Like that would have just been grating on everyone's ears. It's the reason why all of his parts in Aladdin were very short. It's because you cannot listen to that man talk for longer than like 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, I just watching you do Gilbert Godfrey is so funny. Oh my god, that's so freaking funny. Oh, all right. Well, with that, to everybody, thanks for coming to our inaugural video stream with our first one with Naathan Phan with our all hands on deck, our magic discussion. Yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Naathan, for helping.
Absolutely.
With the discussion, the stories, the impressions, and a little bit of magic. Hopefully we can do this again soon, and we can have some weird magic show. I think we can do like a cool 20-minute magic show.
Drunk magic.
I don't know, but we'll figure something out. So for everybody new, please follow, please subscribe, join our Discord, and thank you for coming. Thank you, Naathan. And with that,
Bye, everyone.
We'll do this.
Thanks, moderators.
Thank you, mods,
Thanks,
to
audience.
my lovely mods.
Bye.
And we will see you guys again soon. Bye.
Are you off the air yet?